Dina Mason is suing her ex-boyfriend, crane operator Jeff Campbell, for an unpaid loan to buy a truck. Jeff says it was a gift because Dina didn't like his old truck.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 497 on the calendar in the matter of Mason versus Campbell. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Miss Mason, how old are you?
I'm 39 years old.
You have children?
3.
How old are they?
12, 13, and 15.
What do you do for a living?
I'm an advertising representative.
According to your complaint, in 2001, you loaned Mr. Campbell, who you were dating, $4,000 to put down as a down payment on a truck.
Yes, I did. Mr. Campbell didn't have a vehicle.
Now, listen to me. I didn't ask you a question yet.
I'm sorry.
And the understanding was that if you loaned him the down payment, he would take care of the rest of the payments, and he would pay you back this $4,000. Mr. Campbell's defense to this action is that it was a gift. Is that right, sir?
That's right, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's do the facts that we know. She put down $4,000 on a truck that was purchased in your name. Is that right?
That's right.
And you took out a car loan for the rest.
That's right.
Now I want you to convince me that this was a gift.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm ready.
Well, I was perfectly happy with the vehicle that I had. She told me that she would like for me to have a nicer truck, and she did not like my truck being parked in front of her house because it was a ranch truck. There was nothing wrong with it. It was an older truck, but I was perfectly fine with it, and it was in good shape. And one day she come home and she said, I got an advance on my check. Let's go look for a truck. So we went and looked for a truck.
Okay, so she said to you, I want to go look for a truck. And what did you say to her?
I said, that's fine. So we went and looked. And it just happened to be that day we found one. And I told her it was too much because we already found out the bank would only loan me $15,000.
When did you find that out?
Like 2 or 3 days before, I believe.
Well, what were you even checking into that for, sir, if you didn't want a new truck?
Because she had mentioned it prior to this.
What do you mean she had mentioned it prior to this?
She just wanted me to have a nicer truck. And I said, I don't even think I can get approved for the loan.
You said, I don't even think that I can get approved for the loan, but I'm going to check and find out. And then you called to see.
Yes, she asked me to go
down
there.
So it wasn't that she just came home one day and said to you, I want to go buy you a truck. This is a discussion that you had had with her previously.
Yes, ma'am.
And that you actually went so far as to call up to find out how much money you could get on a loan.
Yeah, to check my credit, see how bad it was.
Keep going.
And we went and looked that evening, and we found a truck, and I thought it was too much.
Look at me.
I thought it was too much. And so she was good with bargaining with people, and she knew the owner. So we went, and we talked to them. She got the truck down to what she thought was reasonable.
Well, what did you think? Don't you have a brain?
Yes.
And what did you think?
I thought it was still a little too high.
Is that what you told her?
Yes.
So you said it's too much?
It's too much.
Too much. Can't do it.
That's right.
That's what you said?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So we signed the paperwork. I signed the paperwork. She got it to where she thought...
Well, why would you sign the paperwork if you said, no, it's too much?
Because she said she was going to put the down on it. I said, are you sure that's what you want to do? And she goes, yes, it's no problem. So that's what we did.
So that was in May of 2001?
2001.
What happened after that? How long did you stay together after that?
We stayed together approximately a year.
You lived together?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
No.
When did you stop living together?
We stopped living together approximately August of 2001.
Does that sound right, sir?
It could be. I'm not very good with dates, Your Honor.
Well, try years.
I'm sorry.
Don't get sorry. Try to get intelligent. May 2001 is when you bought the truck.
Yes.
How much after that did you and the plaintiff separate?
Well, we separated a few times in between. We were off and on, off and on, off and on.
When was the last time that you actually lived together, I assume, in her home?
It had been last year in, I'd say, June.
Is that right?
No, ma'am.
Has he stayed in your house since August of 2001?
He came and stayed at my house in December of 2001 for about 4 days.
Why?
I felt sorry for him because his dad had kicked him out.
Is he a drinker?
No.
Does he use drugs?
No.
Why does dad kick him out?
They live in an old trailer in
I don't care if they live in an old
Wasco,
trailer.
and they just always got in fights and arguments.
Right.
And he came and stayed at my house, and I said, I'm sorry, I can't have you here. I was only going to let him stay for a couple days. And
You know,
it
there
looked
was some
like he
other
getting
trouble
very
with him,
comfortable.
too, was there not, Miss Mason, that you seemed to allude to in your complaint, people looking for him for money?
Yes.
When was that?
It was in September of 2001. The first case was he owed some money for a horse, and I had given him the money already. It was a horse for my daughter, and I wasn't aware that he hadn't paid the man. And he came into my house hostile, and I said, I'm sorry, I don't know where Jeff is at. And I own a 30-foot camping trailer at Aljo with 2 pop-outs, and the guy did not believe me that it was mine. And so I had to literally pull out my paperwork of the lease and show it to him that it was not Jeff's, because he wanted to put a lien against it. Then we had a girl come to the door. She threatened to tear my vehicle apart and repossess anything that I had, because he told her it was his home, his vehicles, and he felt sorry for me and my children, so he was letting us stay there. And that's how he got people to let him live in their homes.
You mean, and after this, you let him come back to your house in December? Why?
I felt sorry for him.
He already left you holding the bag for $4,000. Why would you feel sorry for him?
I'm just a nice person.
Okay. Who are you?
I'm his ex-girlfriend. Part of this is true and part of it's not true. Jeff and I got together early November of 2001. We were together for approximately a month. Dina came to my home and started calling my home, harassing him, calling him, wanting him back.
Wanting him back or wanting her money?
Wanting him back. She did not
Really?
want money. She never brought up anything about money for the longest
Did
time.
you speak to her?
Yes, I did.
Well, tell me about the conversation you had with her in November of 2001.
That they were still together. He was living with her. She wanted to know who I was, what was going on between us. And I
Was
said,
he living at your house?
Yes, he was, ma'am.
How much rent was he giving you?
Nothing.
Where did you meet him?
I met him through a friend. We knew quite a few people that were mutual friends.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a cashier.
What does he do for a living?
He's works in the oil fields,
Doing what?
tearing down the big pumping units.
How often does he do that?
Well, Monday through Friday.
Then what does he do with his money?
He spends it.
On what?
Dirt bikes,
What else?
clothing, dirt bikes. We eat out.
What else?
That's about it.
Really? I doubt that. I have a good nose for that. Somebody who works construction makes a lot of money. And unless he's supporting a whole gaggle of children, there are only a few things that you get addicted to that prevent you from providing for your own sustenance, like rent and food and clothing and cars and other things. One of them's gambling. I assume he's not a gambler, is that right?
No.
And then there are a couple of other things that you can become addicted to that also take a lot of money.
Ma'am, his dirt bike takes a lot of money.
How much did he pay for the dirt bike?
I don't know how much he paid for the dirt bike. He had it before we got together.
When you say it takes a lot of money, how much is a lot of money?
Well, he's quite frequent with blowing them up, and he spent, I know, of at least $1,000 or more at a time rebuilding it.
What do you mean he blows them up? What does that mean?
He rides them hard and blows the motors up.
Do you have children?
Yes, I do.
How many children do you have?
I have 2,
How old are they?
9 and 4,
Why would you want them around somebody who has a fried brain?
because I don't believe that he has a fried brain.
He does. He does. He's an amoral person who has a fried brain because he's over 25 years old. He sucks off women, vulnerable women with children who are really trying to, they're living from hand to mouth because it doesn't look to me as if you're a trust fund child, right? So he's sucking off you. He sucked off her. Whenever he gets some money, he blows it on things for himself, and then he doesn't treat those things with any kind of respect. According to you, he'll spend $1,000 on a dirt bike, and he rides it hard and blows up the motor. Well, that's something that somebody might do if they were 15, but not somebody who's in their mid-30s, unless they get women to take care of them and support them. Then he can take all the money he gets from his construction and oil stuff and do with it whatever he wants. Whatever toys he wants to play with, and whatever things that he needs to make him feel good. So if you want to expose your children to a person with that kind of character, that's your problem. That doesn't make you very smart. Do you understand?
Yes.
She wasn't very smart. She got snookered for $4,000. But you're not going to get it back because you got snookered for it. You gave it to him. You didn't loan him this money. He said he wanted it, and you said, I'm going to give it to you. You want to know how I know that? Because if in December of 2001, somebody who had snookered me out of $4,000 and made a fool out of me came to my house and said, I need a place to stay, I would have called the police and said, I have somebody trying to get into my house. Get him away from here.
Ma'am.
That's why. Yes.
On that, as far as that goes, Dina called my cell phone and begged him to come back to her. He was living with me at the time.
Listen, my dear, I've been around a little longer than you have. My eyesight isn't so good. I look at him and I see nothing that I would wipe my feet on. Do you understand?
Yes.
So the fact that the two of you seem to be enthralled with him, maybe he has some hidden attribute that certainly I don't see, You want him? That's your business. There was no loan. You bought him a truck. Get over it. Your case is dismissed.
Thanks, Doc.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He was hoping he wouldn't have to put it down.
She just thought she had to have a nicer vehicle in front of her house. Well, she had one for a while. Now she don't.
He said he would give it back to me in a couple days. It never happened.
Just got tired of her and the crap.
He got so much self-confidence having the vehicle, he ended up with about 4 girlfriends to go with it.
I'd rather be with my bikes. I'm an adrenaline junkie.
Date someone who has responsibility.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Cleary versus Gray, step forward, please.
Homemaker Sandy Cleary and her son, 5-year-old Nicholas, are suing their neighbor, accounts receivable clerk Cynthia Gray. Sandy claims Cynthia's dog bit Nicholas in the face.
Miss Cleary, this is your little boy?
Yes, sir.
What's your name?
Nicholas?
Nicholas, why don't you come up here? You're going to sit right up here next to me.
Okay, hold on. There you go.
Nicholas, how old are you?
5.
You know who I am?
It's Judy.
Right. Do you ever watch me on television? You know what it is to be in court? Is this court where you are now? Okay. You know you have to tell the truth when you're in court, right? Okay, Nicholas, you just sit there. I'll be back to you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The fence doesn't work too well. The gate doesn't work too well. Where were you?
It happened so quickly.
So where was he when it happened?
The gate had opened, he went inside.
And you weren't close enough, Miss Cleary.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sandy Cleary says neighbor Cynthia Gray's dog bit her 5-year-old son Nicholas in the face.
Show me where you were bitten, Nicholas.
On my nose.
On your nose? Looks okay to me. Is it all better now? It's all better? Good. Miss Cleary, you and the defendant are neighbors, and according to your complaint, one of her dogs bit your son.
Correct.
You want her to pay you $5,000 for whatever. Pain, suffering, a whole bunch of other things. How far away do you live from Miss Gray?
We have an apartment complex that we live in, and there's a home dividing Cindy's home to our apartment complex.
She lives in a private house.
Correct.
With a yard.
Correct.
With a fenced yard.
Yes.
How high is the fence?
It's probably about Nicholas's height, maybe a little bit taller.
And what kind of dogs does she have?
She has a medium-sized dog, mixed breed, and a little Chihuahua-sized dog.
Okay, and her dogs are behind the fence.
Correct.
Always behind the fence, unless she's walking them.
Well, not so correct on that one. Sometimes the dogs are free to either get out with the children also in the neighborhood to go in.
No, the children don't go in, I assume, unless their parents are with them.
Well, Cindy has also a young son, and my children, as well as other neighborhood children, have been able to go into the backyard to see if he's there to play.
Okay.
Versus the front door, actually.
No, but you wouldn't allow your 5-year-old to go there.
No.
Of
no.
course not. So, on what date was Nicholas bitten?
September 10th.
And where were you?
I was in the front yard of our apartment complex.
And who was with Nicholas?
His little friend, Lily.
How old is Lily?
She's the same age.
So you have 2 5-year-olds. And you were watching them?
Yes.
Well, tell me what happened.
Well, what happened was Nicholas and Lily both had asked if they could go see Nina and Riley.
Nina and Riley are the 2 dogs?
The 2 dogs, correct.
Yes.
And I said that would be okay, but it didn't look as if anybody was home and to please not go into the fence, as children always do. And he said, okay. And the last I knew, he went to go and see the dogs and then started screaming.
Just a minute. When he and Lily, also age 5, went over to the defendant's home, could you see your son?
No, Your Honor, I could not.
Why not?
Because, I mean, it's very close quarters. Her driveway goes back a little further than where ours does.
Yes.
It happened very quickly. My older son had also gone over there with them.
Where's your older son?
He's not here today. He didn't see what happened as well.
Then I don't need him here. So what you're saying is your son went into her yard.
Yes. The gate has never been a real well-shutting gate.
That's not the issue, whether it's shut well or not. Ms. Cleary, you are the parent.
Correct.
You have a responsibility. You have a 5-year-old child. Your 5-year-old child should not be out of your sight when playing out in the street. And if your 5-year-old child comes to you and says, I want to go and play with the 2 dogs, and you believe, as you said, that the defendant is not home or that nobody is home, you get off your duff and you get up and you say, you want to go and see the dogs, I will go with you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Madam, this is your fault. This is not the defendant's fault. She has 2 dogs. Her dogs are behind a fence, well protected. If your son hadn't gone into the yard, your son would not have gotten bitten. And you just told me that the fence doesn't work too well, the gate doesn't work too well. Where are you? I mean, you're out talking to a friend? It's your job to watch him. And if you were negligent in taking care of your own son, don't blame anybody else.
Your Honor, I am not blaming anybody else. It happened so quickly. I instructed him that he could only pet the dogs over the fence, as he always does. That children and him, they always pet the dogs.
So where was he when it happened?
The gate had opened, he went inside.
Then you weren't close enough, Miss Cleary.
I disagree, Your Honor, but...
Well, that's your prerogative to disagree. I'm telling you, it's your fault. It's not her fault. Your son went into her property, and you were outside, and it's your responsibility to take care of your child. It's not her responsibility to take care of your child. And you had the opportunity to do that by taking him by the hand with his friend Lily, walking him over to the fence, saying, I want to go and pet the dogs. Fine. Don't go into the yard, because you don't know what 2 5-year-olds do. 2 5-year-olds don't always have judgment. And this is a situation where you're looking to blame somebody else for your negligence, malfeasance, lack of proper parenting, and you're not going to do that here. Your case is dismissed. You were wonderful, Nicholas. Goodbye.
And lost jewelry due to a barroom fight.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Now, this is case number 481 on the calendar in the matter of Crum versus Napier. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats.
Is this your mother?
Yes.
What's your first name?
My first name, Angela.
Let me see if I understand the relationships here. Ms. Crum, you belong to a dart league. You were playing darts at a sports bar.
Yes.
On your team was Mrs. Napier's boyfriend.
He's the dart captain.
He's the captain.
Yes.
So far correct?
Yes.
Now, according to you, this young lady, Angela, assaulted you and you were injured at the sports bar where you were competing in a dart contest.
Yes.
Along with Mrs. Napier's boyfriend.
Correct.
Angela said that she didn't lay a hand on you. But she does say that there was certain interaction with you on that evening. What was the date?
November 11th, 2002.
So I am going to start with Angela because I was really interested in her answer. What time, Angela, did you and your mother get to the sports bar?
It's probably around 6 or 7.
And you got there, I assume, to watch the boyfriend in the dart game. Is that right?
Yeah.
And what is his name?
Rob.
Does he live with your mother?
Yes.
Do you live with your mother?
Yes.
So I want you to tell me what you saw happen with Miss Crum that irritated you.
Okay. We were there, we were all having a good time, and she had been all over basically every man in the bar that night.
What does that mean, all over?
Like hugging, kissing, dancing. She had her hands all over.
Hugging,
everybody.
kissing, dancing, her arm draped over them, around their waist, that sort of
Exactly.
thing. And that irritated you?
No, that didn't irritate me.
Must have been memorable for you because you remember it.
Oh yeah, I remember it.
Go ahead.
And then as she started doing the same thing with my mother's boyfriend, that started to irritate me and irritated my mother, of course.
Now, tell me exactly what you saw her do to Rob.
Okay, he was sitting at the table by my mother, and she walked up behind him and put her arms around him and kissed him on the cheek.
Around his neck?
Yeah, around his neck. He was sitting.
And what did he do?
He just looked at my mom like, what should I do? He didn't say or do anything,
No.
really.
He looked at your mother. Show me the expression on his face.
Gosh, it was just like
Okay.
big-eyed, you know, like, I don't know what to do.
So she put her arms around his neck and kissed him on the cheek from behind.
Right.
Next.
And my mom got upset, told her to get her hepatitis C hands off of him.
That was a dumb thing for you to do, madam. This Rob doesn't have a voice? He's a mute?
No.
And why did you open up your mouth to her?
Because,
Stand up.
Oh.
Why did you open up your mouth?
Because I seen her in the bar many times and ignored her. Got along with her fine, you know, because she wasn't dealing with us.
I'm not talking about many times.
And why did I say
Before,
that?
I'm talking about she comes up to your boyfriend. She puts her arms around his neck. She's not doing it so that you can't see it. You know, maybe she had a couple, 2 drinks.
She got the story a little wrong. She did do it where I was in the bathroom.
No,
at the
listen to
time.
me. Your daughter says that you were sitting right there and that Rob turned around and looked at you with big eyes like, what do I do?
Right.
So you're telling me that your daughter was mistaken?
She is mistaken.
Your daughter now is mistaken about a very
Because
big
he did
event.
that when I came back and told her that. That's when
She had kept doing it through the night over and over again.
Just a minute. Don't change your story. So you turned around and you said to her, get your hepatitis C hands off my boyfriend.
And the reason I said that was because I know she was with somebody that had that disease.
Well, that was a stupid
Well,
thing
it wasn't
for you
very
to
nice,
say.
and I'm not saying it was nice.
It was
I
a
don't,
stupid thing
but-
for you to say. Very dumb. Now you can sit down.
Okay.
Till I need you again. So now your mother opens up a big fresh mouth. And what do? Be very careful because I've got your answer that's sworn to right here.
Well, basically, at that point, we didn't do anything. I went up to her after she had walked away and
No.
everything.
According to you, you said, hey, you've got all these guys in here buying you drinks and you're kissing them. Do you think she wants you hanging on her boyfriend?
Yeah, but...
Did you forget that?
No, I said that. I said that
okay.
to her.
So after
It
your
was
mother
after she
opened
had
up a
walked
bit,
away.
just a second. After your mother opened up a stupid fresh mouth, then you decided to finish it off.
Yes.
Then what happened next?
We went back to having a good time. Everything seemed to be fine. And then she started making gestures and giving us the finger. So then I started walking towards her. She was yelling
What were you walking
obscenities.
towards her for?
Because I was going to confront her and
Confront
she
her
was
about
flipping
what?
me. She seemed like she had some issues with me, so I was walking
Of course she
over
had
there.
issues with you, madam. You opened up a fresh mouth to her for no reason.
Well, that's why I walked over there.
You went over to confront her.
To confront her, yes.
Now I'll hear you.
I was putting my darts away. I did not realize that there was a problem, if you will, with myself. I was basically hit like a freight train. I went flying into the tables, I fell onto the floor, and I was being hit. And then the next thing you know, I was being picked up and escorted out the bar for my safety.
How do you know it was the defendant who was hitting you?
I don't know that the defendant was hitting me. I was hit.
Do you have any witnesses?
Absolutely.
Then I'll hear the witness. Tell me your name.
Betty Jeter.
Are you on the dart team?
Yes, I am.
I want you to tell me what you saw.
I was standing on the opposite side of the table. There was Andrea. There wasn't another girl that is not here standing next to her. We were putting our darts away, and then I saw Angela coming toward Andy, and she came around the other girl. I seen her hand go around the other girl. Next thing you know, they were down on the floor, tables had flying.
Who's they were down on the floor?
Judy, Andy, and Angela.
Who's Judy?
She's one of the girls that's not here.
Did you see Judy have any issues with this?
No, Judy
lady?
didn't have any issues with her.
Did you see her strike anybody?
It would have been around Judy, and I didn't see where the hand landed.
Now I'll come back to you.
Okay,
Look at me.
It was
Now you're
sort of-
walking over to confront her.
Yes. So I get over there, and before I could even get over there, Judy and her fell on the ground. She had
No,
her-
look at me. Now you're closing your eyes. She and Judy, who had not had any issues.
No, because she didn't realize it was Judy. She had her eyes shut.
Just a second. She didn't have any issues with Judy.
No.
So she and Judy just somehow ended up on the ground. And then you ended up on the ground?
No, I was over there, and me and her were arguing back and forth.
Oh, you didn't say that here, honey. You didn't say that in your answer. I didn't hear anything about arguing back and forth. What were you arguing?
Well, we were arguing the whole time when she was flipping me off and, you know,
I didn't hear
yelling.
that. So how are you arguing? Tell me how you were arguing. She's flipping you off and you're doing what?
Basically yelling obscenities at her. She was yelling obscenities back at me. And then Judy stepped in to help, I think, to try to break us up from fighting because we hadn't contacted.
Yes.
And she fell on the ground, and she had grabbed Judy and was punching Judy in the head. And she had her eyes shut, so I don't believe that she knew who she was punching in the head. She probably believed it was me, but it was really Judy. And I believe that's how she broke her wrist.
And what about you? What were you doing?
I was sitting in a chair.
You just sat down in a chair?
Yep, I was
Is that
sitting
right?
in the
She
chair.
was sitting in a chair?
On the
I
floor.
didn't see her sitting in the chair.
Where did you see her?
I seen her on the floor.
Of course. Let me see your medical bills, please.
And can I say one more thing?
Sure.
Also, she didn't go to the doctor for like a week, and she didn't call the cops or anything, and she acted like everything was fine and dandy with me. I would just think if her wrist was broken, it would hurt really bad, and you would go right to the emergency room.
Did you graduate from Einstein Medical College or Harvard? Which one?
No, that was just my opinion. Neither.
No, let me explain something to you about opinions. When you have an opinion that is a scientific opinion, you have to have a scientific opinion based upon some particular skill, experience, training, education. There are certain things that we know as lay people that are within the realm of common knowledge, like if somebody's got their arm draped over your boyfriend, if the boyfriend doesn't say, "Get your hands off me, I'm uncomfortable," then you keep your mouth shut. Then you get rid of the boyfriend. You don't get rid of the girl. And if your mother is offended by something that happened to your mother, she's at least 20 years older than you are, you let her deal with it yourself unless you've had too much to drink. Then you open up your big fresh mouth over something that has absolutely nothing to do with you, and you get yourself into a whole bunch of trouble. If this young woman here had a couple of too much to drink and was making a little bit of a fool of herself, then it was up to the men to say, "We don't appreciate that." So let me ask you this question. You come out of the sports bar and you have a flat tire. Who's going to change the tire? You or Rob?
Rob.
Of course. Do you know why? Because he's good for things like changing tires. He can also say, "Get your hands off me." He doesn't have to be protected by you.
Well, it's easy for people to say it, but nobody was there but us, so we know what happened. And we came in dressed like we always dressed, but they come in dressed like they're holier than thou, and that's not their dress.
I don't care whether they're dressed like holier than. What difference does it make, madam? We're talking about your fresh mouth.
I'm not the only one in life that has a fresh mouth.
Just a second. I don't care whether you're the only one in life. We're here discussing one case.
That's what happens when you go to the bar.
I've been in bars before. I mean, I don't hang around in bars, and I don't belong to a dart league. I've been in clubs before. I've been in bars before, and I want to tell you something. I haven't heard the kind of business in places where I've been that I just heard here. Haven't. Sorry. Okay. Just a second. Take this back because I'm not interested in this.
That is the cost of the, I was told that I need to, my hand is still broke, I need to go to the occupational therapy. This is, since I have
You
not
have several choices. I don't speculate with regard to what you might possibly need in the future without an expert witness. Do you understand?
Yes.
You have incurred a certain amount of bills up until this date. These I am prepared to entertain. What I'm not prepared to do without an expert witness who can testify as to the condition of your wrists, the need and the duration of any therapy, nor am I prepared to entertain the cost of any therapy. So you can either say, "Judge, I would like you to dismiss this case without prejudice. I will refile it in another date, 6 months or a year from now," or "Would you please entertain my current costs? And then I will, if additional treatment is necessary, I have to take care of that myself." Now, what do you want to do?
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
She'd paint like the kitchen like a yellow and blue color. She'd paint like all over the house, all kinds of different colors. She'd put like candles up and pictures.
I can't say that you had a different decorating taste than she did because you had no taste.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Andrea Crum says she was assaulted by Angela Napier. Angela says Andrea was flirting with her mother's boyfriend.
Okay, what's your pleasure? Do you want me to proceed with the actual costs that you've incurred so far, or not?
No.
No what?
Dismiss the case.
It's done. Case is dismissed without prejudice. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Jealous you'll get to nowhere.
It's a small town, and she's known as the town whore.
I don't want anything to do with her, man. I actually have my own.
Pretty much every woman in Sheboygan has given me a thumbs up.
It never stops there. It's like Peyton Place.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Kruger versus Estes. Step forward, please.
21-year-old student Abby Kruger is suing her former roommate, 19-year-old bartender Michael Estes, for unpaid rent. Michael says he stopped paying because he didn't like her taste in decorating.
Miss Kruger, your family owns a house. And you are in charge of renting the rooms in that house. It's a college community?
Right.
You rented a room to the defendant, and it is your claim that he owes you for 2 months' rent, $600. Now, I've read Mr. Estes's answer, and he acknowledges that he didn't pay the rent, right?
Right.
He says he didn't like your decorating. And he told you that if you continued to paint the house in colors he didn't like, he wasn't going to pay the rent. Isn't that what you told me in here? I just wanted to make sure that that's what you said.
Yeah. She didn't let me have a say in anything in the house at all.
Since when are men in charge of decorating? Since when are men in charge of decorating? You can decorate your closet, that's it. And that's if it's your house. If it's not your house, you can even decorate your closet. Mr. Estes, how old are you, sir?
19?
You go to college?
No, I took a semester off.
Are you planning on going back to school?
Yes.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
A police officer.
That's a legitimate career. I'm curious because I thought perhaps you wanted to go into interior design.
No.
Clearly not. Now, I want you, Mr. Estes, to convince me why I should, or she should, forgive the $600 rent that you owe her because you didn't like the colors that she painted the house, okay? It's all yours, sir.
I moved in August, and then she moved in around the end of August, I think. And then both the guys moved out, and then we were getting along, and then she kept decorating the house, and I said, you know, I want to have a say in this house too, and she wouldn't let me have a say ever in the house.
Like what? Give me an example.
Like she would paint this side of the wall red and like this side of the wall red, and then both these sides would be white. She'd paint like the kitchen like a yellow and blue color. She'd paint the hallways and paint like all over the house all kinds of different colors, and I didn't like it.
What color do you like?
It was white. White was fine to me.
You like plain white. You don't like color. You like it plain, nice, plain, clean white.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Bird and I are fascinated.
And that's about it. I just told her, you know, I'm not going to pay rent if I never have to stay in the house, and she was just like, whatever, you know.
You're talking about a say in the house. You're talking about the color. I mean, I want to know if there's anything else other than the color. She painted 2 walls.
Just the way that she decorated the house, it was like all like girl house, and I couldn't put anything up at all.
Explain that to me. Other than the color, what else did she decorate?
Just she'd put like candles up and all these weird lamps and pictures. It was
pictures or pictures?
Pictures.
Pictures that you pour from or pictures on the wall?
Pictures on the wall.
Pictures. What kind of pictures did she put up?
I don't know. They're just like artist kind of pictures. I don't know what it really was.
Shh! Please. Mr. Estes, this is very serious. Who are you?
I'm his girlfriend.
Please don't move. I didn't ask you to stand up. I just wanted to know whether you were just fixing your hair or raising your hand.
I just have something to say.
Either way, stop it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Mr. Estes, your defense is the most ridiculous defense that I've heard in a very long time. Most ridiculous. If you want white walls, you take an apartment where you live all by yourself with your girlfriend, and you have white walls. This is not your house. You are merely a boarder in one room. It was her house. You have a room. You are entitled to decorate your room. If you and this girlfriend of yours get together and get married, I guarantee you're going to have more than white walls. And you know what you're going to say when she comes home and she's painted the hallway yellow? You know what you're going to say? Yes, dear. That's what you're going to say, because you're going to be out there protecting the peace and security of your neighborhood in your chosen profession. And since white walls are the walls that appeal to you and no pictures on the walls appeal to you, I can't say that you had a different decorating taste than she did, because you had no taste. So you pay her the $600. Mr. Estes, you're supposed to do the right thing. You want to be a police officer? Police officers have good character. They have a good moral compass. They know right from wrong. You lived in the house. You lived in the house for 2 months. The rent was $300 a month. You didn't pay the rent, and then you came up with a lot of baloney excuses. That's not what a moral person does. And you've chosen a profession that requires that kind of moral compass. Do I make myself clear?
Part of personal property. Toby is countersuing for damages to the apartment, unpaid rent, and for the cost to remove waste.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 385 on the calendar in the matter of Brown versus Moore. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Miss Brown, this is your son?
Yes, it is.
How old is he?
He's 9.
I'm going to ask Bird to take the young man outside, because there are some serious allegations here that I don't believe he has to be involved with or be privileged to hear.
Come with me.
Everybody else you can be seated, sir. Ms. Brown, according to your complaint, you rented an apartment from the defendant.
That's correct.
Somebody that it turned out you had some connection with historically in your family.
Correct.
And it was a two-family house. You rented upstairs and you lived downstairs. According to your complaint, some issues developed. She evicted you.
Right.
And according to you, kept some of your property.
Correct.
You want to be reimbursed for that property.
That's correct.
Ms. Moore says she's very happy that you decided to sue her, because she's been trying to find you. You left no forwarding address when you moved out, because she claims you owe her rent. You destroyed her apartment, and she would like to be compensated.
Correct.
So when did you move in, and what kind of a lease did you sign?
It was a month-to-month lease, and we moved in like the last week of February of 2002.
What was the rent?
$650.
And you were evicted in August, is that right?
Really the last week of July, I received an termination of tenancy.
Okay, but then you were told you had to leave August 20th, according to your complaint.
Yes, after we went to court for something else.
Now, why did you notify her that you were evicting her?
Non-payment of rent. And
Tell me when that was.
they didn't finish paying the rent in July, and they didn't pay the rent in August at all.
Okay. In July, how much did they pay?
$605.
Why did you pay $605 in July?
My fiance was having problems with his job, and he wasn't working every day.
Okay, so you were shy $45
right.
in.
I don't even know it was $45. I thought it was more like $15 or so.
All right. And what happened in August? I'm asking you. Pay attention.
Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. In August, I got no response. So on.
What do you mean you got no response?
They don't answer their door. They don't answer their phone.
Is there any reason why you didn't pay rent?
Yes, Your Honor. First of all, the end of July, it all, to me, started with an air conditioner. When I first rented the place, she said she had an air conditioner in the unit. It was in the wintertime. I said, asked her, does it get pretty hot up there? She said, yes, it does. I have an air conditioner you can use, when the time comes. I'll just prorate the electricity bill. We were offered an air conditioner through a friend of ours, so we took it. Saying that, she was saying that.
Okay,
it was
so you took an air conditioner.
Right.
Go ahead.
Okay, so she said to let her know when I got the air conditioner, and I don't think I let her know that exact day that I got it because she wasn't home or something. But anyways, the air conditioner ended up being in there for like 10, 12 days before she knew about it. She called up to my house and asked me, did I have an air conditioner? And I said, yes. She said, well, would you please take it out? You didn't notify me that you had an air conditioner, and would you please take it out? So 5 minutes later, I took the air conditioner out. The next day, this note was posted on my door saying that we have a 30-day tendency to move because we have put an air conditioner in her unit without her permission. And that's where it started from. So that was dated July 31st, and we had 30 days to move. So upon that notice...
Okay, just a second. According to this, they owed $15 of July's rent.
Mm-hmm.
And the other $30, you tacked on here was for the air conditioner.
For the electricity bill.
Just a second. For the air conditioner, for the difference involving the air conditioner. So they didn't owe you $45 for rent. It was the additional $30 that you say that your electricity bill went up because of the air conditioner.
Correct.
Okay. Go ahead. So what happened next?
So the next day that note was posted that we had 30 days to move. So I have a son. I wasn't working at the time. My fiance was only working part-time. I could not afford to pay rent to pay rent twice, to give her August rent since we had 30 days to move, and I already had put up a damage deposit of $650, and so I was, assuming to myself, well,
you're going to live off your security deposit.
Not necessarily.
Well, that's what he says. You say no, but that's what he says. You had $650. You figured she wasn't going to give it back to you anyway. You might as well use that $650 for security deposit to pay your August rent.
Right.
I got you. Okay. But that's non-payment of August rent is not the reason that she was evicting you.
To me, it wasn't. It was because of the air conditioner.
Okay. Is that why you were evicting her?
No, ma'am.
Why were you evicting her?
Late night arguments with the little boy up there, and there's only, the three of them up there. You're throwing things against my walls. You're breaking and damaging things.
Don't talk to her. Talk to me.
Yeah, I'm sorry, ma'am. They were doing too many things, and I have my husband, sons during the summertime. We take care of them.
That's not true.
Shh. And they're loud. They woke us up at 1:30 in the middle of the night, scared my boys because she was going to burn down the house, threatened to burn down the house.
So they were having arguments.
Not staying on this.
So they were having arguments.
All the time.
That is not true.
So if they were having arguments, why didn't you move to evict them because they were a nuisance?
Well, I had talked with Stephanie a couple times about that. You've got that child up there. You're doing things up there you shouldn't be doing with that boy up there.
You said nothing to me.
You're leaving that child by himself. You
I very seldom left my son
out of the mailbox for him to come in.
I'm not speaking to you.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I mean, I think she left a lot of junk, and they certainly left this apartment like a pig pen.
She would have gave me a chance, I would have cleaned up.
No. Pig. Pig. Those things you don't clean up.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Stephanie Brown says former landlord Toby Moore evicted her family and then kept their belongings. Toby says Stephanie is violent.
Now, what did you go to court for?
Okay, after I got the 30-day notice and like August 5th came around, she discovered evidently I wasn't going to pay her rent. So she went and filed an unlawful detainer for non-payment of August rent. We went to court like around the 14th or so, and we were asked to vacate the premises by August the 20th.
No, you weren't asked. Were you ordered to?
Ordered to vacate.
That's
right.
different. Ask and order are two different things.
Okay.
Were you out on August 20th?
August the 20th, around 7 p.m., we were in a process of moving. We only moved like 4 blocks away. I don't have a vehicle. It was pouring down, raining that whole night. We made like 7 or 8 trips with shopping carts, mind you, in the pouring rain, back and forth to our new place moving. But before that, she came about 10 minutes to 8 that evening and said that she was changing the locks on the apartment. I said, well, Toby, we're in the process of moving. Can you give us to 8 o'clock in the morning? She said, you cannot tell me what to do at my property. I can make any necessary repairs or whatever I want to my property, and you cannot tell me what to do. And then she threatened me with calling her uncle.
I just want to know whether you were
her
out.
Uncle, the sheriff.
Pay careful attention to me.
Right.
Were you out of the apartment by midnight on the 20th of August?
No, I wasn't, and she knew that, though. She came and asked me when we were going to be out, and I told her 8 a.m. that morning. And I didn't
just a second, that's maybe what you told her, but you could not be in that unit after midnight on the 20th of August.
Right.
That was the order.
Come and remove
because
us.
then what you do is instead of starting to move on the 20th, you start to move on the 19th.
That's correct, but we were...
I know it's correct. All right, so now what do you claim was left behind?
This is a list of things that were left behind in the apartment.
Let me see. A slider rocker, I'm talking about the big items, slider rocker, sofa sleeper, large kitchen table, antique golf clubs. What are antique golf clubs?
My fiance had a set of golf clubs, and they were antique. They were like 15, 20 years old.
Oh, no, those aren't antique. Those are old.
Okay, well.
There's a difference between old golf clubs and antique golf clubs.
I'm just appraising. I don't know how old they were, but they were very old.
They were very old.
Right.
Old. old golf clubs and not antique golf clubs. Right, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know what happened with all these things?
Most of the things, yes.
Tell me what happened with them.
The things that she left behind, left in the apartment, I took pictures of, and the things that she left and took down to all my neighbor's trash.
She what?
She strategically took stuff and left in everybody's trash.
I'm just
down
talking about the
my alley.
furniture. I'm talking about the furniture.
So am I.
She telling me she put the chair in somebody's garbage?
Correct.
Listen to me carefully, Miss Moore. Is there a sofa that was in the apartment after she moved out?
No, ma'am.
That's a lie.
Shh. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I mean, I think she left a lot of junk, and they certainly left this apartment like a pig pen.
No,
yes, you did.
I did because I wasn't done moving. Your
No,
Honor. I didn't mean
listen to me.
If she would have gave me a
Listen
chance,
to
I would
me.
have cleaned up.
No. Pig. Pig. Those things you don't clean up. This, show her.
They shouldn't have been left like that.
I'm speaking. Don't speak.
I'm sorry.
Nobody was going to clean that oven before you moved out, and nobody was going to defrost the refrigerator at 8 o'clock in the morning. Do you understand?
I understand that.
That's not taking care of somebody else's property. So if this is an indication,
And you know what, Your
I'm
Honor?
speaking.
Okay.
If this is an indication of how you were taking care of someone else's property, then I understand her counterclaim, which is you left the rest of the place in a complete state of disarray.
When I moved there, it was like that. She gave me $100 off to clean up. The stove and refrigerator was a mess. I had to clean all that up.
So just a second. So she gave you money off.
Right.
Fine. Now, so if that's
And I was
the
going to
case,
clean it up again after I was in the process of leaving. I don't
No,
leave my
that's
place
baloney.
like-
That's baloney because you didn't have time. You had to be out by midnight. So you weren't going to clean that up at all. Now, Miss Moore, we've already come to the conclusion that you didn't give her a legitimate reason for evicting her. This is not the legitimate reason, according to you. According to you, didn't like them as tenants. Then they didn't pay rent in August, so that you went and you finally got her evicted. I don't believe that she took all of her stuff. I believe that some stuff was left behind. I don't know what you did with it. You want to tell me what you did with it?
The stuff that was left behind,
Yeah, in the
she
apartment.
came and got. And the things, she came and started going through boxes, and I'm like, Stephanie, no. You have to take your stuff. You can't sit here and do this.
When did she come back?
She came back with her mother on the 22nd.
So what you're telling me is plaintiff and her mother came back on the 22nd.
Correct. Her mother came by looking for her, and I said, I don't know where she is. She moved out. And if you do catch up to her, ask her what does she want with the rest of her things. They're out in my garage. 45 minutes to an hour later, she showed up.
And those were the things that you wanted me to have. It was no
Just a
sofa
second.
in her garage.
Just a second.
There wasn't one.
Had your stuff been in her garage before?
No.
So she moved the stuff out of the apartment
Right.
into her garage.
Right, what she wanted me to have.
What did you do with the things that were in the garage?
Some stuff, the stuff that was in the garage, I put in my mother's car and took with me. Some stuff that was no good, I have a friend that owns a furniture store. They said that I could put the stuff in the trash back there. So stuff that I did not want, I put in the back of this furniture store trash.
What furniture did you take with you?
I didn't have a chance to even
No,
get my
what
main furniture out. I took nothing but my it was mostly clothes and stuff that I had moved. I didn't get it. The big stuff you move last, and I didn't have a chance to move that.
That's unfortunate. You had an obligation to be out of that premises by midnight on the 20th. Now, she says that you left no couch, that you left no table and chairs, that any furniture that you left, any stuff that you left, she put in a garage. You came by with your mother. Your mother came first, you came second. You looked through the stuff. Some stuff you wanted, some stuff you didn't. Some stuff was trash. Even the trash she moved out of your apartment.
No.
No, it's not.
Sure it is.
Can I call
you
a
just
witness,
told me
please,
that.
ma'am?
Sure. Call him. Your last name?
Tell us.
Go ahead, Mr. Tellis.
Okay, the things, way it went down as far as the furniture that was in the house. Her mama, my fiance's mother, knew where we was at, and we had told her where it happened.
Don't tell me anything that her mother saw, sir.
Oh, I'm not going to tell you that, but...
I want to know why you didn't move this stuff out on the 18th or the 19th of August. You weren't working. If you're not working, why didn't you move?
He was working.
I was working. I was working, but I was working part-time.
Well, it's working part-time, and the other half the time you move out in time.
Okay.
17th, 18th, 19th, so that you're all out on the 20th, so that you
Right.
don't start moving at 8 o'clock at night on the 20th.
Okay, actually we had prepared to move by boxing up a lot of things, whatever. But we were moving, and about 4:30, 5 o'clock that morning, she put a lock.
The lock was there before.
She had already put a lock on the door, but she locked the door so we couldn't get in to finish taking our belongings out.
You couldn't be there 4:30 in the morning on the 21st.
Okay, but even then...
We had an agreement. She said, when are you going to be out? We said 8 o'clock in the morning. She said she had no problem. When we come to make our last several loads, the door was locked.
But
you listen to me. I don't believe you that you had stuff in that apartment worth $1,500 because you just said to me we came to make our last several loads. Our last several loads is not all your furniture.
No, it was our sleeper sofa, our dresser, our table, our rockers, my golf clubs, my bikes, all that.
Grills, everything.
Grills. We were to move all that.
Can I have that list? Can I have the list? So what did you take? Just a minute. So what did you... So what did you take, sir, is my question.
Basically, we took a lot of pots and pans. We took some rugs that we had. Clothes, you know, a lot of
TVs,
VCRs. But we didn't get a chance to move the big items.
Okay, good. Now, did you have a U-Haul at that night? Did you have a U-Haul at that night?
No.
Okay. Now you can sit down. Now, I want to hear about your counterclaim.
Tell the truth.
One more word. One more word. Your case is going to be dismissed, and I will just concentrate on her counterclaim. Do you understand?
I understand.
Who are you?
I'm her husband.
Step up.
Yes, I was the one that mainly moved everything out of that apartment.
Where's the couch?
There was no couch upstairs. There was no couch.
Who knows? I have no idea. I have no idea. All I know is you left the place like a pigsty. Since I really don't know what happened to your furniture in there, I have to rule strictly on the law. And the law is that when you've been evicted from an apartment and you're told to move, you have to be totally out of that apartment on midnight the night of the move. You are not. And you were not out by midnight on the 20th, not because she didn't let you get your stuff, but because you didn't start to move until 8 o'clock at night on the 20th. So anything left in that apartment, even if you left stuff in that apartment afterwards, you can find that that stuff was abandoned by you. So even if they took it, sold it, destroyed it, gave it away, salvaged it, trashed it, or whatever, they had a legitimate right to do that because they are under no obligation to keep your stuff. Do you understand? And again, I'm not sure whether the stuff was there or not, but I am sure that it was there after it was not supposed to be there pursuant to a court order. That's one thing. So that's very easy to deal with. The second thing that I have to deal with is her counterclaim. And her counterclaim is for rent and damages to the apartment. Correct. Well, I think that there are certain damages to the apartment that I can't find caused by them. I certainly think that they left the place like a pigsty and that they have to be fined for that to the extent that they had $650 in security deposit and that at least part of that has to go towards cleaning up this apartment.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Cleaning up and putting it into reasonable condition.
Right.
And I think that probably $150 or $200 is reasonable to clean up that apartment. The problem is you stayed beyond the term of your lease. So you don't get any credit for August rent.
Right.
Which means that you owe us some money to clean up the apartment, the mess that you made, which is a couple of $100. So on the counterclaim, I'm awarding her $200 to clean up.
Tanya Blishak is suing her former co-worker, Julianne Rouse, for startup money to sell Mary Kay Cosmetics.
Ms. Blishak, according to what I've read in your complaint, you and the defendant worked together in a hair salon period of time, and in addition to your regular work, you were making some money on the side selling Mary Kay Cosmetics. Mm-hmm. You tried to get Ms. Rouse to become a representative for Mary Kay and claimed that you sold her a quantity of product. You put it on your credit card because she asked you to, with the understanding that she would pay the credit card bill. She paid some, but not all, and you want the balance. Mm-hmm. Ms. Rouse says that you sort of pressured her into becoming a representative. She paid you back a total so far of $1,400 for the product that was purchased, according to her, without her consent. She stopped selling the product. She still has 6 boxes of it at home that you're welcome to have because she says she's paid enough.
Yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I
I sold it for about a month.
That's a fib that you just told me, because you told me a moment ago that after a month, so that means that you were at least selling the product for 2 months.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tanya Blishak says former co-worker Julianne Rouse owes for a loan to buy Mary Kay Cosmetics. Julianne says the makeup was forced on her.
When did you start to sell Mary Kay Cosmetics?
September of 2001.
And what percentage do you get of what, for instance, Miss Rouse would purchase from Mary Kay?
At the time, I did get 13% on her order, but I would like to state...
Go ahead.
Okay. Oh, I just want to say that I explained to her completely and full detail that she does not have to order any inventory whatsoever. It is for her benefit to have inventory if she wants it, so that she can give it to her customers when they buy it from her. That's completely her option. She doesn't have to do it, and she chose to do one of the big ones.
When did she purchase this product?
In April of '04.
And how much did she purchase?
She purchased a $2,400 order.
Now, tell me under what circumstances you financed her order of $2,400.
It was with my credit card.
Why?
She had been a customer as well before, and I had no problems with her financially. She paid her orders. There was no problems. And she wanted to get started with a business. She said she didn't have a credit card and you can't pay cash. And she wanted to do it, and I told her that I would help her out. She was going to pay me back the next month, and we were going to be done with this.
From where was she supposed to get $2,400?
I don't know.
Who do you live with?
My husband.
Have any children?
Yes.
How many?
1.
How old?
7 months.
And you were working full-time?
No, ma'am.
Part-time?
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
I wasn't working for a while. I was going to school, and then I went back to work part-time at the salon. And at that time, my fiance at the time were living with roommates. We didn't have our own place.
So when you purchased this stuff, Miss Rouse, it was your intention to make this a part-time job?
Well, I was working part-time at the salon, and then I left there right about the same time this all happened to work full-time at a travel agency.
So was it your intention to work part-time selling Mary Kay Cosmetics?
At that time, yes.
Who selected the product that was purchased?
Miss Blishak did.
Without your input?
I didn't input. She did it online, and she ordered the things that she thought I needed at the time. And then about 5 weeks later, I needed different products, so I had to place another order on my own to get the products that I needed for my clients.
So you were, in fact, working?
For a little bit, yes.
So why didn't you finish paying her for the product?
And in the beginning, I did not want to sell the Mary Kay. She kept asking me to join. I thought if I joined it, it would be over and done with after the $115. So then after this, I decided that I would try it out.
Well, that's what she's talking about.
And she told me when she did this that I would be able to pay her back in a month because you would make so much money selling these products within the first month, as she did. At the time, I couldn't do that. I was working full-time.
Well, that happened later. Miss Rouse.
Within the same week,
Miss
it happened,
Rouse,
ma'am.
listen to me.
Yes, ma'am.
There's something about buyer's remorse, which means that at the time you thought it was a good idea, and all of a sudden it didn't look so good after it was done, as opposed to someone who fraudulently sells you something. I'm not getting the sense that Miss Blishak sold you anything fraudulently, especially since you ordered more product a month later. And you paid her $1,400. She paid you $1,400? When did you stop paying her?
August was the last payment I gave her.
And you were paying her prior to that time because you were selling product?
I sold it for about a month.
Or more? Because that's a fib that you just told me, Miss Rouse. Because you told me a moment ago that after a month you ordered more product to sell to your customer. So that means that you were at least selling the product for 2 months.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Sounds to me, Miss Rouse, as a case of you didn't plan on getting pregnant, you planned on working full-time, you planned on selling this part-time. It all didn't work out because you left a part-time job, went to a full-time job, then you got pregnant, then you stopped working. Are you working now?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. You better start selling some Mary Kay Cosmetics because you owe her some money. How much does she owe you with interest on your credit card?
$1848.02.
Can I see that, please? Why does she owe you $1848? What kind of interest do they charge you on your credit card?
It was 12.9.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Okay, good. You have 6 boxes of product left?
Yes, ma'am. I have a list of everything I have.
Good. You better start selling it, Miss Rouse. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $1,848. That's all.
Parties are excused when they step out.
Kathleen Bowers is suing her former friend Lana Batman for damaging her Dodge Durango when she backed into a pole.
Miss Batman, you will forgive him, won't you?
Sure.
Good. Miss Bowers, this used to be your friend. She borrowed your car. She had an accident. You wanted to pay for the damage to your car. Miss Batman does acknowledge that she had an accident with the car. She said you should have used your insurance, and if you didn't have good enough insurance, that's your problem. That's pretty much your defense.
Yep.
Right?
Right, correct.
How'd you damage her car?
I pulled into a carport trying to move, and when I pulled out, I was trying to look around the corner, and it hit the carport pole.
So the accident was your fault?
Yeah.
So how does that translate into use your insurance, and if you don't have insurance, you pay for it?
Well, if you don't have the proper insurance, why are you loaning your car out?
Just because she had proper insurance. You have liability?
Yes, actually, my mother had bought me the car, so my mother had full coverage insurance on the car. And at the time we were going to file the claim, Lana would not call her agency, because first we were going to try and go through hers. And so she came over and we discussed it, and she told me that since she had borrowed the car, she wanted me to pay half because I had lent it to her. We were going to do it out of pocket, so the insurance, because it was going to go onto her insurance, my mother's insurance, and yeah. So we were going to try to do it outside of there.
You were going to try to do it without using your insurance?
Yes.
Because certainly if you used your mother's insurance rates were at risk, and if you used hers, her insurance rates were potentially at risk.
Yeah, but I wouldn't know because Lana wouldn't get a hold of her insurance for me.
Whatever. You have an estimate?
I do.
Right. I called my insurance.
And?
And they said the insurance follows the car, not the person.
Okay.
That was
Miss
a week after I had
Just
it
a second.
fixed.
Miss Batman, let me try to explain it to you, because I know that you really probably think you're right.
I am right.
Miss Patman, I want you to listen to me.
She shouldn't have loaned her car out.
I want you to listen to me carefully.
I didn't ask to borrow the car.
Listen to me. I want you to listen to me
She
carefully.
felt guilty.
Try listening. Okay, listen.
I'm listening.
Okay.
Can I say something?
First, you have to listen. I understand. Hey, listen. We live in a world of responsibility.
Right, and I'm very
Just listen. Try not to plug up. Try to open up and listen. If you didn't want to accept the responsibility of using her car with caution, then you should not have taken her car. Now, based upon what you told me, you drove the car negligently, not on purpose, but you weren't looking, because certainly if you weren't looking in the right place or if you misjudged space, that's your fault. It's not fair for you to say, well, it's true that I caused the damage to her car, and I want her to bear the responsibility of fixing the car with her insurance, despite the fact that we all know that once you put in a claim for insurance, your premiums go up for sometimes up to 5 years. And that, Miss Batman, is just wrong.
Can I
It's
say
not thinking. I know that you have something you want to say, but I want you to try to absorb what I've said to you as an adult. Now I will hear you.
Okay. First, I didn't borrow the car. She was supposed to help me move.
Shh, no, listen to me.
No,
Listen to
she was supposed to help me move, and she was going to drive the car. I didn't want to drive her car. She was sick, and she couldn't help me as usual, and so she said, well, here, why don't you borrow my car? Because, you know, I feel really guilty. So I said, no, I'll take my dad's truck. And she said, no, 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 take my car. Just take my car.
What does that have to do with what I just said to you?
Well,
how old are you?
30.
Listen to me.
But
If you're
I'm
30,
not finished.
if you're 30, but I'm going to stop you right. If you're 30, and if you say, no, I'll take my dad's truck, the reason you didn't want to take her car is because you didn't want to be responsible for it.
I didn't want to
Listen to
drive
me. You didn't want to be responsible for it.
Right, but she should have been responsible in saying, this is insured under my name. It's under my mother's insurance. You won't be covered.
Miss Batman, if you're 30 years old and somebody says, take my car, and you say, no, I don't want to take your truck, you're forcing me to take your truck, you're holding a gun to my head, I'm going to take your truck, but I'm not going to be responsible for it. If you take her car, you are responsible for acting in a way that doesn't cause damage to the car. And if you cause damage to it, that's your responsibility.
Okay.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,260.
Thank you very much.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Brian Borges is suing his former friend, Darla Grote, for her share of a hotel room in Cabo San Lucas. Carla says Brian agreed to pick up the tab.
Mr. Borges, I gather from your complaint that you and Miss Grote were friends. You both are single parents, is that right?
That's correct.
And it is your claim that Miss Grote accompanied you and your daughter on a trip to Mexico.
Correct.
And it is your claim that she owes you money for expenses for that trip.
Correct.
The defendant, who acknowledges she went on the trip with you, says that you had an agreement that as long as she paid for the airline tickets for both herself and her daughter, you would cover the rest of the expenses while you were in Mexico.
Correct.
How old is your daughter?
She's 13.
And Mr. Borges, you have?
A 13-year-old daughter.
And these 13-year-olds go to school together? Are they friends?
Correct.
Is that how you know each other?
Correct.
I understand that you were out for dinner with Miss Grote at a time when you were discussing this trip.
Yes, we...
So my first question is, was this the first time you and the defendant had been out to dinner together?
Yes.
How did that come about?
On the phone and wanted to know if I'd like to go to dinner with her.
And you had not dated before?
No.
So now, Mr. Borges, tell me about the conversation that you had at dinner about this vacation that you were planning, and I understand Ms. Grote was planning for her daughter as well.
There was approximately 9 of us going to Mexico.
Who was going?
Me, my witness, Will, Perry and his kids, my daughter.
So it was single dads?
Yes.
Okay, so tell me about the conversation you had with Ms. Grote.
Well, the conversation got brought up that we were going to Mexico and she was and her daughter were going to Seattle and they would like to go, and I explained to her where we were going to stay, what the costs were. She said she couldn't afford it if she went by herself, so she was going to have a friend of hers come along with her so she could afford the hotel room.
Is that this person?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, it came down to the point where we had to pay for our hotel rooms. Darla stated she didn't have the money. She was wanting to pay her hotel when we got there. Well, the hotel wouldn't work it that way. So I explained to her that I would pay the hotel room, but she was going to pay me back when she got to Mexico. And she agreed.
How much was the room?
Their share was $700, $350 for her and $350 for a friend.
What happened when you got to Mexico?
She didn't have a credit card to put down on the room. I put my credit card down on the room. Told her don't charge anything on the room. I mean, promptly started charging things on the room.
Like what?
Just long distance phone calls, Cosmic Bar, towel deposits, things of that nature.
That, please? What do you do for a living, Miss Grote?
I'm a regional trainer.
And you don't have a credit card?
I have a credit card, but not that high of a limit on it.
What's the limit on your credit card?
It's only at 1,000, and it was full.
What happened next, Mr. Borges?
So I went up to the hotel desk, told them that they needed to shut my credit card off, and at this point I knew she didn't have any money, so I told them that I wasn't going to be responsible for paying the bill.
What made you think she didn't have any money?
Well, it all started at the airport when the taxi came. They didn't have any money. You know, it was just borrowing money. She borrowed money from Will the entire trip.
Who paid for the cab? I'm sorry.
She got mad the first night because she had to pay for her own dinner. Next day I just said, you know what, I'm not going to deal with it because she's upset because where we went to dinner she said was too expensive. It got into a big argument at the pool that afternoon. I was talking to somebody at the pool. She got upset. Her friend got upset. She thought I asked somebody else out for dinner that evening, which I hadn't.
Was there any discussion with Ms. Grote that the two of you were going on that trip as a couple?
Oh, we discussed that that was not the case because...
That was?
Not the case.
When did you discuss that?
The first evening at
Well,
the
tell me
restaurant.
about that discussion.
I told her if she was going to go on the vacation, it was a single dad's deal, that she had to understand that this wasn't going to be a romantic trip.
Okay, now I'll hear you.
We did go to dinner the first night and discussed the trip. I had actually told him I was going to Seattle with my daughter over the 4th of July. We did not talk about money or anything that night. About a week or two after that dinner, we had kept talking about going to Cabo.
You mean you were talking on the telephone?
Talking on the telephone.
But you only went out for dinner once.
One time. So we had talked about it, and I says, well, what are we talking as? And he came back with a price, I think it was $1,800 or $1,900. And I told him, I made it very clear to him that I could not afford to go on that trip.
So why did you go?
Well,
my question.
I could go if I paid the airline because he offered to take care of the hotel.
Why would you do that, Ms. Grote?
I'm sorry, do what? Go on the vacation?
Absolutely.
I don't know. It was a mistake.
It was a big mistake. Why in the world would you expect somebody who you were not involved with?
We were involved.
No, you were not involved with. You went out for dinner. According to what I'm hearing, you went out for dinner one time on your invitation, and maybe you were hoping for more of a romantic relationship, but as far as I'm hearing, this was not a committed relationship. So why in the world would you expect someone else to pay your freight? Why would you permit somebody else to pay your freight?
By that point, my daughter had found out about the trip. The daughters were talking about it, and I told him, I made it very clear that I could not afford the hotel.
Then you should not have gone.
Well, maybe not.
Then you should not have gone, and you certainly shouldn't have gone and invited somebody else to go with you. You see, that's how I know.
No.
That's how I know that what you're telling me is not true. Because if you were going with some sort of an expectation that this was going to be a romantic getaway for the two of you, you wouldn't have invited a girlfriend.
Can I finish telling you what the reason the girlfriend went is because he had called me and asked me if I had any single girlfriends I could bring.
That is not
for
true.
his friend.
That is not true.
He called me and he says, okay, I've taken care of the room. Can the girls, all the girls, stay in with you? And I said, well, that would be like 6 of us in one room. He goes, that way, my room is open for us.
That is completely
true.
wrong.
That is
Your
true.
Honor,
Just a second, wait a second. Shh, just a second. So, what did you say?
I said no.
Well, not only did you say no, but you should have said goodbye if that wasn't your intention, Miss Gross. What I'm saying is, if you have any misgivings about going away on a trip with somebody whose intentions you're not sure of, you don't go. And you certainly don't go and expect for somebody else to pay for you and pay the freight. You stay home, go to Seattle. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
George Heath claims neighbor 17-year-old Marquise Peppers falsely accused him of being a pedophile and then assaulted him.
Mr. Heath, Mrs. Coleman is your neighbor, and this is her son.
Affirmative.
Hmm?
Affirmative.
You are 17.
Yes, ma'am.
But large for your age.
Yes.
And it is your claim that Miss Coleman's son assaulted you.
Assault and battery, ma'am.
Depends on where you live. And you want to be compensated. Miss Coleman and her son say that you started it, and he just finished it. So, your first name?
Marquise.
How long have you and Mr. Heath been neighbors?
I don't know how long he's lived there, but I lived there for 2 years.
How long have you been there, Mr. Heath?
Since May of 2006.
So a little less than a year.
Affirmative.
A year. Have you gotten along for that year that you've been living there?
Up until recently.
What happened recently, Mr. Heath?
On April 25th of 2007, I was outside my door. Mr. Peppers was also outside his door. He was calling me a pedophile. He was saying I should never, never, never say the name of his little sister. I admit I may have started behavior that was more of an interest to a proctologist. But
I don't know what you mean by that, sir.
I was upset that being called a pedophile after 30 years of being a registered nurse here in California.
So he was calling you names and told you never to mention the name of his sister. What did you say to him?
Well, he challenged his authority by claiming that if I said the name of his sister one more time, that he would beat me down. Being that I was very upset because of the general rumor within the neighborhood of me being a pedophile, I did say her name. Her name is Sanji.
And then what happened?
I repeated it a few times as he came
So you taunted
closer.
him. You were a grown-up.
Yes, I was an angry
You were a
grown-up.
grown-up. You were an angry grown-up.
Yes.
And he had called you a vile name.
Quite,
ahead.
especially when I have no record anywhere.
I understand you have no record anywhere.
Okay.
Got it. So you were taunting him, and what did he do?
He pushed me, and then, you know.
How did he push you, Mr. Heath?
I do believe, I will take his word for it, that he belly bumped me.
Okay.
I turned to catch myself, and I was struck on the back. I cannot say exactly if it was him or his friend LJ, but I did sustain an injury to my back.
Him?
He was right next to him, shoulder to shoulder.
So they both came over to you after you had repeated his sister's name several times.
Affirmative.
And he belly bumped you. When you turned around, somebody hit you in the back.
Yes, well, turning around in that, I was trying to catch myself as I was falling.
And as a result of that, were you injured?
Yes, I have a report from my chiropractor that I have injuries from T6, that's thoracic spine, vertebrae 6 to 7. These were significant enough for me not to be able to work for 2 months, which I have documentation from my employer of such.
All right, Mr. Pep, let me hear you, sir.
Yes, ma'am. On the day of that incident, the day before, we had got into like 2 days before we got into an argument.
About what?
I was sitting outside because my friends stayed next door to him. And I was sitting outside talking to them, and then my sister...
Talking to whom?
My friends that stay next door to him. And so I'm sitting outside, and then my mom calls me, and she sent my sister to come get me. And my sister comes, and she says, Marquise, your mom wants you. And then so he reaches over, and she's in between these stairs. And he reaches over and pats her on the head. And I say, man, don't touch my sister.
Why not?
Because, like, I don't know what it is, but ever since he's moved there, I've been, like, you know, real uncomfortable around him. And he's, like, he acts real, you know, friendly and stuff towards kids, like, you know, little girls. And I just, with my sister, I keep, you know, I'm overprotective about my sister. And so...
But he just touched her on the top of the head.
I know, but it was, like, the way how he did it. Like, you know, he rubbed his hand through her hair. And, like, you know, and I didn't like the way it happened, but I wasn't disrespectful to him. I just said, can you don't
Fine,
touch my
you
sister?
said, don't touch my sister. That's all you said to him.
Yeah, but
Okay.
as I said that, my mom walked out, and I told her what happened. And then so they got into an argument.
Did you get into an argument, Miss Coleman, with him?
As I walked out, I heard George yelling at my son, and all I heard was the end of the conversation. And I asked
What
him
did you hear?
He was calling my son ignorant and a pervert for saying what he said or whatever.
Well, did you say anything to him?
I said, don't touch my sister's head, and he called me a pervert because he said that I was looking at him as that, like, I don't know why he said it, but he just called me a pervert because I told him not to touch my sister.
And then?
That's when I came out. And I heard them arguing, and my son said, George touched Sanji, and that's when I went to tell him he doesn't have to put his hands on her, to not touch her.
Did your son tell you how he touched her?
No, well, the thing...
Well, why didn't you get that information, Miss Coleman?
I did. When I came over, he said he touched Sanji on the head. And right then, when she said he touched Sanji, I just verbally told him, you know, to keep his hands off my daughter, and I asked my children to come into our yard.
Okay, so that was a couple of days before.
Yes, ma'am.
And then what happened, Mr. Pepper?
And then the day of the incident, we were outside, you know, we played basketball and all of that outside, and George comes out and was playing the guitar to the little girl in the window, and I was just sitting there.
Playing a guitar?
Yeah, playing a guitar and singing to her. But he's sitting there playing a guitar to her, and that's not my relative or anything, so I didn't say anything about that. And somehow he got into an argument with other kids that was on the block, and so they were arguing, and somehow they said to him something about, oh, you touch kids and stuff, and he was like, yeah, I touch a lot of kids. And he started naming off kids on the street, like girls and stuff that he's touched, and then he somehow said Sanji's name, my sister. And then so that was when I got into the conversation, and I asked him, I said, man, don't talk about my sister.
Did you call him a pedophile?
No, I've never called him a pedophile.
Did you call him a pervert?
No, I've never called him a pervert.
What did you call him?
I didn't call him anything. I just said, do not touch my sister.
Okay, and what did he say to you?
And he got into an argument with me, calling me a pervert and that I'm immature and stuff because I'm calling him out on stuff. And I'm like, you know, I didn't say anything. All I said was, don't touch my sister. And then so we're sitting here, we're arguing, and I stepped back, and my friend was with me also, and he was talking to him. He was like, there's no need for you to say her name. And I pulled him back, and George says it again. He was like, oh, what do you mean, Sanji? And I was like, don't say her name. And then so he takes off his glasses, and he untucks his shirt, and he steps up to me, and he says, what do you mean, Sanji? Sanji, Sanji? And so I had chest bumped him, and he, you know, it was like a fake stumble type, and he just stumbled back and hit the wall and purposely fell to the ground. And he made a lot of, like, weird noise and stuff that, you know, you could tell that it was being act. And, like, some kids was laughing at him and stuff because he was acting it out. And his wife said, I'm calling the police. And then so I looked at him, and then I turned around, and my sister was calling me. So I turned around, picked up my sister, and then I told my friend, I was like, let's go. And then we walked to his house.
Mr. Pepper.
Yes, ma'am.
What facts do you have that suggest to you that Mr. Keith's intentions with regard to the kids who play in the neighborhood, either singing to them or patting your sister on the head, is anything other than just genuine caring for children?
It's because of the way, like, he does it. It's like it's real weird, you know? I don't feel comfortable around him, And for that, I don't feel that my sister should be around him. I've never been disrespectful to him or anything.
You assaulted him, sir.
No, ma'am, but
Yes,
prior
you
to the
did.
incident,
You assaulted him, sir. He was taunting you, which is not very smart of a grown-up man to do.
Yes, ma'am.
Not very smart to a big 17-year-old, you know, who certainly outweighs him and certainly outmuscles him. But you have no right to put your body on him in any way. You should have been smarter, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Now,
But I had to confront the lie.
Mr. Heath, have you ever been arrested for a sexual offense on a child?
No, ma'am.
The next question is irrelevant, therefore, and you've never been convicted. Is that correct?
No, ma'am.
You have any children of your own?
Yes, ma'am. We have 4 biological children and 1 foster child.
How old is the foster child?
She is 32.
So you raised her.
Affirmative.
And your 4 children, how old are they?
We have a boy who's now Sergeant George Heath of the 3rd Armored Cavalry Regiment. We have twin boys, Pete and Repeat. One is Staff Sergeant Joseph Heath of the 11th Armored Cavalry Regiment. Our other son is Specialist David Heath, who recently was, last week, was taken out by shrapnel in Baghdad, but he's doing just fine. He'll be in the United States today. And then my daughter, Rebecca Heath, she's 23. She's a certified nurse's aide and a senior in health administration.
Have any of these children visited your home?
Yes.
You live in your home with your wife?
Yes.
How long have you been married?
31 years, ma'am.
Mr. Pepper.
Yes, ma'am.
We are supposed to rejoice in the differences among people in this country. That means that not everybody is made the same.
I know that.
Some people say affirmative rather than yes. Some people may appear to be, to you, a little peculiar, but that doesn't make them a pervert.
No, ma'am, I've
That
never...
doesn't make them strange. That wouldn't inspire me to say to somebody who's the father of 4 children, don't put your hands on my sister. Now, if you said to me that he hit her in the behind or tapped her in the butt, I would say, go over there and you can knock his lights out. But what you told me was he patted her on the head, and you just didn't like the way that looked. And you went outside, and all you heard was your son saying to you, he touched your daughter, and you blew. You didn't listen. I think that what you have to do is celebrate the differences amongst people, Mr. Pepper. You have perfect right to say to your daughter, listen, I don't want you to go over to neighbors, strangers, or whatever. Absolutely no business, despite the fact that Mr. Keith was not smart.
Yes, ma'am.
Has no right to go over there and chest bump him, belly bump him, or whatever other kind of bump him he did. His lawsuit asks for $1,700. He's going to get that. You have a counterclaim. Counterclaim is that he filed false charges against you with Child Protective Services. When did he file charges against you with Child Protective Services?
Per the letter, it says on 5/2 that there was an investigation.
And what makes you think that it was Mr. Heath who filed those charges?
Okay, when we went to court for a restraining order, that was denied. Mr. Heath subpoenaed the CP.
Who went to court for a restraining order?
George filed a restraining order on me and my son.
Well, he should have.
Right.
Your son used force against him.
Right.
Was it granted?
No, they were both denied.
Oh, that's ridiculous. In my judgment, it's ridiculous. What grounds do you have to file for an application for a protective order against Mr. Heath?
Because when the incident happened, my daughter constantly goes over there, and it's like everywhere my daughter is, he's behind her. Like it's in a place that he goes across the street that my daughter plays at. He's never over there, but every time my daughter is over there, George is over there. You know what I'm saying? It's like it seems like everywhere my daughter is, I see George, normal places where he doesn't go. He's normally in his yard. Like he comes in my yard and uses the water hose. He was told by the judge, he was told by the police officers that he keeps calling on me to stay away from us. We were told to stay away from each other. I agreed. But he constantly, like if my daughter's in the yard, I don't let her out the yard because of the situation. I'll make her stay in the yard and ride the bike. George will come over, open the gate, and use the water hose, or, you know, just do stuff to, you know, to have me try to have confrontation towards us.
What proof do you have that Mr. Heath called
I don't have proof that he called, but for our restraining order, he had all the information. How does he know that CPS came to my house? When we went to court, he filed a subpoena for the CPS worker to come to our restraining order. That's how I assumed that he called, because...
Did you have that information, Mr. Heath?
The reason I know that Ms. Johnson is a child protective worker is that she was at Ms. Coleman's door, and when I saw her, and I said, I don't think Ms. Coleman's there. She asked, you know, who are you? I identified myself and where I live, and then she identified herself, and we went into my apartment, and we had a discussion concerning, well, actually, one of the things we discussed is whether or not I am a pedophile. Obviously, I'm here, not arrested, so she felt there was no basis for the allegation that I'm a pedophile.
Did you make a call to Child Protective Services, sir?
Can I leave that under confidentiality?
See what I'm saying?
Well,
yes
you
or
see,
no? I'll answer if you,
no,
say,
well,
if you want me to.
The point is, Mr. Heath, if you had grounds in your judgment to place a call to Child Protective Services, because that's her counterclaim, she says that you had no basis. She believes that you did call.
Okay, that would be a different question. Would I have, if I called, would I have a basis? The answer is yes, I would.
Well, tell me what basis you had if you had called.
Okay.
Got it.
I'm sorry, I don't consider that very funny. The basis I have is that I have seen her use the most unusual type of child rearing, curse words at her daughter. I've seen her with an open hand strike her daughter in the head. Also, I am quite suspicious that her daughter has some type of minimal brain damage. I'm not sure if it's cerebral palsy.
Shh, quiet. You can't be quiet, you'll leave. Do you understand? Good. Go ahead.
I am not sure if it's cerebral palsy, or I'm not sure if it's attention deficit disorder, but I know she has fine motor coordination problems because one of the things I have done with the children is to plant a garden. And when Sanji came up to plant, she could not follow my simple instructions that I could get children half her age to do. So I am just...
Put your hand down. Go ahead.
I am quite concerned. I do know...
So that would be the basis. If you had called...
If I had called.
If you had called, that would be the reason that you called.
Affirmative.
Go ahead.
Okay. As far as me, the allegation was that I called my daughter the B word and I hit her with an open fist. My daughter is really, I would never, I do not use that word. I don't like that word. I don't like to be called that word because my mother called me that, and I would never call my children that, no matter how angry or what we were going through. So that's just ridiculous. And as far as me hitting my daughter with an open fist, there's just no
open hand.
Yeah, open hand. There's no way. I don't. You can ask my son. She doesn't even get in trouble. So I don't even know.
Your counterclaim's denied. You owe Mr. Heath $1,700, which is what he's asking for this assault. Mr. Heath may be a peculiar man. He may not have exercised good judgment when he taunted you by repeating your sister's name. It doesn't give you license to put your hand or your body, and you have a big body, sir, on another human being. You have no right to do that. As I said, there is no indication today that Mr. Heath is anything other than maybe a slight bit odd.
I resemble that remark.
Right. But that's it. And we celebrate that kind of stuff in this country. You have an absolute right to say to your daughter, I don't want you to play with Mr. Heath. I don't want you alone with him. Don't go to his house. But you can't put your hands on him. Do you get it?
Yes, ma'am.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,700. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Kenneth Kip Panett claims former friend Stacy Schwartz took his car without permission and damaged it. Kenneth says Stacy not only ruined the transmission and clutch, but she also popped one of his tires.
Mr. Panett, you were at a party with the defendant. I assume she was a friend of yours, and it is your claim that she took your car without permission and wrecked it.
She didn't wreck it. She hit a curb and blew out a tire, and the transmission went out.
And Ms. Schwartz says that she had an unfortunate accident and that she might clearly be responsible for replacing a tire, but certainly not the transmission, since she had your permission and this accident was clearly not her fault.
Well, she did not have my permission.
Good. So let's go back. When was this party that you had?
A couple of months ago. It was a Friday night. It was at my house, and
listen, Mr. Panett, how old are you, sir?
23.
What do you do for a living?
I am a market analyst.
Ever been to court before, sir?
No. except for traffic tickets and...
Well, that's court. So, if you're a plaintiff and you have a claim, first thing you figure out is what date.
Yes, Your Honor.
Because the questions get harder after that, Mr. Panett. So, a couple of months ago on a Friday night isn't the date.
I believe the date was December 14th, Your Honor.
That's a date. Now, it was on December 14th, 2006. Where were you?
At my house.
Who else was there?
I don't know the exact names, but a bunch of my friends.
And what were you all doing?
Drinking, watching TV, listening to music.
Great. Having a good time. Being responsible.
Yes.
What happened next?
Well, I didn't keep track of everybody around that night. I went to bed maybe around 1 or 2, and the next morning, Stacy called me and said that my car was broken down. I said, you know, how could that be? It should be in front of my house. And she said she was in Sunrise, which is about 20 miles away.
Where do you live?
Downtown Sacramento.
Go ahead.
She said it was broken down. She explained to me that she had taken my car the night before and that it had broken down the night before and that she had spent the night and was calling me in the morning. And I was...
Spent the night where?
At one of her friend's house, I assume.
Okay.
And I explained to her that she had better get my car back to me.
What kind of car do you have?
It's a Nissan Sentra.
Year?
1997. And she said she would. We exchanged words. I was a little upset, and then I fell back asleep. I didn't get my car back until the next day. She had it towed back to my house. At first, she hadn't even told me that a tire had blown out. I did see that for myself when it came to my house. Then she explained that to me. I had not given her permission to drive the car, so I was very upset.
Okay. Don't repeat anything.
Okay.
I have other things to do. Are you finished?
She had told me that she would pay for all damages. She was very apologetic at first, and I had it diagnosed, and she refused to pay it. She said she's not responsible for that.
You had it diagnosed. What was the bill?
It was $1,500, not $1,593.83. I'd originally said $1,600. It's I'd rounded when I looked at the receipt. It's actually $6.17 less than that.
Mr. Panett, how did you pay for this?
My father loaned me the money to pay for it, actually.
Did you pay for it in check or cash, sir?
I believe my father used his credit card to pay for it, and I had to pay my father back.
What's your father's name?
John Panett.
His phone number?
It's in my cell phone. I'm sorry.
Ferg, would you please get his cell phone so that we can get the father's number, please? Thank you. And he's going to verify that he paid this bill, sir?
Yes,
when I
he
call
would.
him on the phone? Good. We're going to do that.
Okay.
In a minute.
Okay.
Now, I'll hear you, Miss Swartz.
On December 14th, I was hanging out at Kip's house, and I asked him if I could borrow his car to go over to Jessica's house.
Where does Jessica live?
A few blocks from his house.
And he said?
He said yes, he let me borrow it.
Good. So you understand, Miss Swartz,
That's a different place than she was. Excuse me, Your Honor.
You do understand, madam, that you did have limited authority to take his car to go to Jessica's house, which is a few blocks away. You understand that?
Yes. Yeah.
Now tell me what happened.
I drove over to Jessica's house and told her that I was using Kip's car. And she called me at 5 o'clock in the morning and woke me up.
At Jessica's house?
Yes. And told me she was drunk and stranded in Sunrise. So I didn't even think to call Kip and ask permission because he let me borrow his car. He knew I wasn't...
No, my dear.
He knew I wasn't going to bring it back until the morning. So I...
Darling!
Yes.
You get it now? You look as if you're smart enough to get where I'm going.
Yes, ma'am.
You went to pick up your friend in Sunrise. And
yes.
How far is Sunrise from Jessica's house?
Approximately 20 miles.
20?
Miles.
Miles, not blocks. Miles. And it was coming back with her, this drunken friend of yours, that you had the accident.
Yes.
Now tell me about the accident.
I was just driving and I was coasting, so I was in neutral. And then I tried to put it into gear and it would not go into gear. And I went to park immediately and I hit the curb and popped the tire. That was probably about 5:30, 6 o'clock.
You must have hit the curb very hard.
Well, yes, it was hard enough to pop the tire. And I immediately changed the tire. And since it was about 5:30 in the morning, my friend that I picked up just walked to her house because we were about a block away. and I slept in the car and called Kip about 9 o'clock in the morning to tell him that I was going to get his car towed back to him.
Let us assume that I believe you, that Mr. Panett said that you could borrow his car to go to Jessica's house, which is a few blocks away, to
Yes.
stay over. When you exceeded his permission by going 20 miles away the next day, you no longer had his permission. Do you understand that?
But he knew I was going to have it till the morning.
Don't tell me what he knew. He gave you permission, according to you, to drive it a few blocks. A few blocks is not 20 miles.
I have my witness here that saw him give me permission.
I just said, don't you have your listening ears on? I said, if I believe you, he gave you permission to take it a few blocks away. Once you took it 20 miles away, you no longer had permission.
Your Honor, he lets me borrow the car all the time.
That's not true.
Just a second. Where do you think you are?
Right here.
Where is here?
In this witness chair.
And until you stand up there, what are you supposed to do?
Listen to you.
Right. Once you exceeded the scope of the permission, you no longer had permission. That's the law. Do you understand it?
Yes.
So all I have to do is deal with the issue of damages. And for that, you're going to give me John's cell phone.
Yes, ma'am. Just let me power it up.
Power it up. John Panett, this is Judge Judy Scheindlin. How are you? I'm very well, thank you. Do you have a moment for just a couple of quick questions for me? I'm here, as you know, trying a case involving your son and this young woman who took his car without permission. Are you familiar with that? Okay. Did he ever ask you for any money to help him repair this car? When was that? 3 months ago. Do you remember how much it cost you, sir? Approximately. And did you use your credit card? Did he pay you back that money? I know, I have children. Did he tell you how it happened? That he needed a new transmission? Was he driving the car? Okay. Very good. And you used a credit card? Okay, great. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate you taking the time. Bye-bye now. What a nice father you have, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And as a matter of fact, your father does remember helping you out and paying for this transmission a few months ago.
That's correct.
Do you know what he doesn't remember?
What?
He doesn't remember you paying him back.
Well, I owe him money pretty much all the time, and I am always paying him. So I'm in the process
that he
of
doesn't
paying
remember. I mean, he does remember laying this money out for you, but he doesn't remember the fact that you paid him.
I have not fully paid him back, Your Honor. I apologize.
Well, how much have you paid him, sir?
Well, I owe him a total of quite a bit more than that. So I guess if you got down to that bill, I haven't paid him any because I'm paying him for things that I owe him.
Well, you have no objection to making the check payable to your father, do you?
No, not at all.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,593.83 to be made payable to John Panett. Thank you very much. That's all.
Lisa Pelisek says former live-in boyfriend Franz Zygmuntovich owes for several items she purchased for his home.
Ms. Pelisek, the defendant and you were involved in a relationship. You lived together in his home for a period of time. You claim that while you were there, you purchased some furniture for the home, put it on your credit card. The relationship didn't work out. You moved out. He kept the furniture. You're paying the bill. You want that credit card paid. Now, you have the furniture, right?
Yes.
And you're not paying the bill.
I did pay some of it.
But you're not paying it now.
No.
And you say that's all right because?
Well, Your Honor, there's a lot more to it than just the furniture issue.
You're also counterclaiming because you say she owes you for half the mortgage payment while she was living there.
Yes.
That's a lot of baloney.
No, Your Honor. The way this all began was last year. My sister had reintroduced us at a birthday party I had. My sister.
I don't need all that information, sir.
We got together. She was married at the time. All of a sudden, she decides she's not happy with him. She wants to get out. Originally, we were looking for a place for her to live somewhere nearby me. At the time, she called me and says, you know what, why don't I just move in with you? I'll stay there. That's all good. She moves in, proceeds that she wants to get this, get that, get this, get that. Well, I already had my house established. I've been living there for over a year, almost 2 years. I had all this stuff purchased for my home. She didn't like the bedroom set. She went and sold that, kept the money on that, bought a new bedroom set. She wanted blinds,
Just
stuff.
just a second. Let's get over this counterclaim first, because when I said that's a lot of baloney, I meant that's a lot of baloney. Because nowhere in your discussion with me, sir, did you say that when she moved in, she agreed to pay half your mortgage.
Oh, I forgot to mention it. She
Well,
was
yeah,
getting...
listen, if you start out with a fib, I don't believe what you say.
Well, it's
Do you
not, I
understand?
didn't give you the whole... You didn't let me finish.
Go ahead.
Okay. Part of the thing was she was getting money from her husband, plus unemployment. She said she was going to help me out with stuff. I was also buying on my credit card items, tickets, concerts.
I'm talking about rent. Let's get rid of the rent.
Okay.
You have a counterclaim for rent.
Yes.
I said to you that was a lot of baloney. You want to address the rent, sir.
Okay.
So far, I've heard she was getting
Well, she lived
alimony
there for-
from her husband. She was getting unemployment. She said she would help you out.
Well, part of the deal was she...
No,
was
look at me.
Okay. Part of the deal was she was getting money. She said she was looking for a job and was going to help me out. If she's suing me for everything, then she never helped me out with anything.
That's not a contract to pay half your mortgage.
I never made a contract to pay her credit card
Just
either.
a second. I'm talking about your counterclaim, sir.
Okay.
In order to have a landlord-tenant relationship, which is what you are suggesting to me,
Okay.
because that's what it was. You may have shared it. Don't look so unhappy, please. Don't give me the sad-looking face. It doesn't impress me at all. Okay, so, you know, put the smile on the face, or just, but this sad face doesn't go far. I have no heart. Do you understand? Perfect. When you form a landlord and tenant relationship, even with somebody with whom you are sharing a bed, there has to be an agreement to pay a finite amount, so much per month, first of each month.
Okay.
There was never any agreement for that.
Yes.
Now, I knew that when I read your papers.
Okay.
You were trying to convince me there was. All I'm saying to you is, I don't believe that there was ever any agreement to have a landlord and tenant relationship with the plaintiff.
No.
So your counterclaim's dismissed.
Okay.
If, however, what you're telling... Get the sad face off, please. If what you're telling me is that when she moved in with you and you were sharing a home, your bedroom, sharing your bed, she said, I don't like this bedroom set. I want to get a different one. So she got rid of the old one.
Yes.
And she purchased a new one.
Yes.
And she kept the money from the one that she sold.
Yes.
Wouldn't you have been smarter to say to me at the beginning, no, we didn't have an agreement as far as rent is concerned? Because now I tend to doubt that, that she sold the bedroom set and kept the money. Is she going to tell me she kept the money?
If she's not lying.
Let's see. Did you keep the money when you sold
I
the bedroom
applied it
set?
to the Discover credit card. It was $450, and I made the payment on my credit card.
Now, why did you get a new bedroom set? Now, look at me.
Okay.
Why did
I
you
just
get
did
a new
not like
bedroom?
the looks of the old one.
You
and
didn't.
We were planning on going to get married, and I was going to live there the rest of my life. He told me that I
You
can...
bought him a present, a new bedroom set.
He told me
Forget
I can
it.
decorate his house any way I want, and it's not a problem, and he would pay any charges that I put on my credit card that went toward the house.
Really? And what were you paying? Don't look confused. It's a very easy question. You weren't paying any rent.
Right, nothing.
He was providing you with a roof over your head, telephone, gas, electric, water, all that other stuff. My question to you, madam, is your husband was supporting you, which must have irritated the hell out of him, because here he's supporting you and you're living with somebody else, and you were getting unemployment. What were you doing with your money?
I was just paying off my bills that I currently had. I had some credit cards and just miscellaneous bills, and whenever I took the children out to do activities.
Whose children?
I have a son, Zachary, and he has a daughter, Savannah, and we would just go out and do things with that money.
Okay, so you bought a bedroom set on your credit card. You kept the money from the bedroom set that you sold. What else did you buy?
There were just many, many household items, new kitchen sinks. There were shower curtains, shower rugs, window blinds, just miscellaneous home items, shelving units for the basement. But it all just really added up.
And over what period of time did you purchase these things?
From the time I actually officially moved in, which was July 16th, until September 15th.
Exclusive of the bedroom set, how much did you spend?
Exclusive of that, around $3,000.
And how much did you pay towards the expenses of the house?
Nothing.
Consider it rent. You live there with a child?
Yes.
You think you can get a place to live with your child for $1,000 a month?
No.
Including gas, electric, telephone, whatever other expenses there are? You can't. Just out of curiosity. Why did you leave?
There were problems in the relationship that had developed.
I ran out of money is what it was, Your Honor.
Yeah.
Once I said I had no more, once I had no more money, she decided to go off on her own. When I wouldn't give her cash, and she said, "This isn't working out, I need to leave," and went back to her husband.
Is that where you are now?
Yes.
Oh, you have to pay this credit card, madam. It's your responsibility. You went out, you decorated. I can view this as your capital contribution to your own living expenses, yours and your child's, while you were living together. It's not unreasonable for him to assume that if you went out and bought shower curtains and some rugs for the bathroom, that you intended to do that because you were living there with your child, and that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to contribute. You're a grown-up lady. He's not supposed to take care of you. You're supposed to take care of yourself. Case is dismissed, as is your counterclaim, sir.
Thank you.
Timothy Glenn says ex-landlord Elena Chavez owes for an illegal eviction. Elena is countersuing for a security deposit, the return of property, and sexual battery.
Is this your son?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you ask the young man to wait outside until we're ready for him?
Sure.
If ever.
Come on.
This way.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Mr. Glenn, according to your complaint, you rented a room from Mrs. Chavez with your son.
Yes, ma'am.
And you claim that she unlawfully locked you out of the apartment.
Yes, ma'am.
You suffered damages as a result of this unlawful eviction. You want returned your rent, a deposit, your moving expenses, and punitive damages.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Chavez says that she never locked you out of the apartment. You left, and she is counterclaiming for a variety of things: stolen property, damage to the apartment, and sexual battery, which she will explain to me. When did you rent this room, and why were you looking for a room?
My son and I were living in an environment that I felt was unacceptable for him. My work hours are late, and I wanted somewhere where I could consider him home at 12 years old. So I responded to an ad for a room for rent in a beautiful home, and I quote to you, cable, DSL, nice neighborhood. And I met Elena with my wife, and I told her that...
Were you and your wife living together?
No, at the time, no. I went through 17 months of self-employment and financial problems prerequisited her to move in with her parents, and myself and my 12-year-old son to move into a smaller residence. We had a condo.
Your son is not the product of this marriage?
No, no, ma'am.
So you were separated from your wife at the time?
Yes. And we left and had a good conversation with Elena the first time I met her. And,
when was that?
That was, I think, late May of this year.
When did you move into the room?
June...
About June 28th.
June 28th or something to that effect. She may have documents too.
Is that right? When did he move in?
He moved in July 2nd.
Do you have a lease?
Yes, ma'am.
I can see it, please.
This is for the first room, and this is for the second room.
How many rooms were there?
There were two. The first one, the 28th, the second, I mean, it's 4 days difference. When I had the conversation with Lynn and my wife concerning the potential rental, and my wife and I spoke about it, we thought it was a good idea, but I didn't have the capital. She wanted a month's rent and a month's rent for deposit. So I approached her again some days later and asked her if she'd be willing to rent to me with just the rent up front, and then we can make payments or something for the deposit. She hesitated not 1 second, absolutely. So my son and I, we moved into a small room that was very small, but it accommodated us. Nice house. We went into the other room after the fact. It was a much larger master bedroom. So.
Okay. How much was the rent on the second room?
$800 per month.
Is that right?
Yes, it is.
So you were in the second room, $800 per month, on or about the beginning of July, and you paid her how much?
$7. She probably has receipts for that effect also. 7 something and.
Mr. Glenn, you knew you were coming to court today.
Right. My stuff is all over the place in storage and everywhere because of this.
Mr. Glenn, that's not my problem. That's your problem. You know
I
you're
understand.
coming to court. If your stuff is all over and you're talking about a couple of months ago, you get it. You get it together so that you have it.
I apologize.
Ms. Chavez, how much did he pay you when he moved in the beginning of July?
When he moved in the beginning of July, he gave me $600. The last payment he gave me to complete that was $200, supposedly $200, but he only gave me $150 of it, lacking $50.
Oh, $750 you received from him the entire month of July, and what was owing on that room was $800 for the rent. Is that right? The security deposit, how much did you receive for security deposit?
He never paid that, Your Honor.
Is that correct, sir?
Not during the month of July.
That's what I'm asking you. So the month of July, you never paid for the security deposit.
No, ma'am.
And you were $50 short on rent.
Yes,
Now
ma'am.
let's get to August.
Okay.
How much did he pay you for the entire month of August?
$770.
So for the entire month of August, you were $30 short in rent, correct, sir?
Mm-hmm.
And how much did he pay towards the security deposit?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Is that correct, sir?
No, ma'am. And
How much did you pay towards the security deposit in August?
in the month of August, I paid $80 to her on the 26th, and I think I paid her $172 or something down to my penny in the 1st of August. So it's about $250 and 20 cents, roughly. For deposit.
And an additional $770 for
rent.
For rent.
Right.
Yes.
That's not true. I give him receipts when he's giving me money, and
She gives me receipts like this sometimes also.
Just a second. In any event, there came a time, according to you, take your hands off your hips.
Yes, ma'am.
Came a time, according to you, in the month of August, that you told her you were leaving.
Yes, ma'am.
When did you tell her you were leaving?
August the 26th, I was paid by a side job that I did. I'm an auto mechanic, fixed her car a few times, and said, "Hey, Lena, let me give you $80, towards my rent, because I'm going to be about $80 short." She took the cash money, and she put it in her pocket, and she said, "Tim, I can't put that towards the rent. That's got to go towards the deposit." And I said, "Okay, understandably so, but if you do that right now, I won't have the rent complete on the 1st. And she goes, "It's not my problem. I don't have nothing to do with it." So I told her, "I'm going to move out on the 1st. I'll make other arrangements, okay?" That was Saturday the 26th, I believe it was.
Okay.
Sunday, we go to court, my son and court. We went to church, and when we walked out of church, I turned my cell phone on, and I received a voicemail from Elena, and I can't quote you exactly, but the gist of the thing was I've been crunching some numbers, and you owe me $290 right now, she told me, and until I get that money, you will not get back in the house, and you will have to take me to court for your property. This is the day before school starts, and I have a 12-year-old boy, all right? So I called her based on that voicemail, and I said, "Do you want to call the sheriff, or do you want me to call the sheriff? Because I've paid you all the rent for this month." I gave her $80.
Well, you hadn't. You were still shy. But she is still required to go to court to evict you.
So she says, "Okay, you know what? You call him if you want to." So I call the sheriff. 40 minutes later, they show up. I take my cell phone out. I play the voicemail for the sheriff. She said in the voicemail, "Until you pay me the money, you're not getting your stuff." The sheriff said, "I can't touch this. But if you want to go knock on the door, I'll stand there to effect the peace." Okay? So I approach the door and I knock very lightly. Okay, there are people there, and Justin's mom was there also. He's one of the witnesses for her. And no one answers the door. The sheriff then decides to knock on the door herself, somewhat louder. Okay, we know we've gotten attention at this point. No one will answer the door. Then the sheriff decides to take the flashlight. Knock, knock, knock. She's getting angry, the female deputy, all right? We see Elena through the door window go upstairs quickly, and she won't answer. Sometime later, Elena comes to the window and says, "Who is it that's knocking at my door?" And she said, "This is the sheriff's department, ma'am. I need to speak to you." And she said, "Go ahead." And she said, "I need you to come to the door." And she goes, "I'm not going to open the door for him." And she said, "Why not?" And she said, "Because he owes me money." And the sheriff's department said, "Do you have an eviction papers? Do you have anything like that you can show me?" And she goes, "No, but he owes me money and I'm not letting him in until he pays." Justin's mom comes to the door to come outside of the house, and she walks out. When she does, the deputy puts her foot in the front door. And Elena tried to close the door on the deputy. And the deputy said, "I'm not having that." And she bowled her way into the house. I think you'll get a chance.
Do you think I need help?
I'm sorry. You have to understand what I've been through. I apologize.
Go ahead.
This is unbelievable. The deputy then forced their way into the house, at which point Elena became completely irate. Just unbelievable. She almost sat on the ground going nuts. She told them I stole money from her. She told them that I broke her gate and that I exposed myself to her and her 2 children, all right? At this point, I thought about it for a moment and I said, I don't even want back in this house because I can't leave my boy here. Who knows what she's going to do?
Do you have a police report?
They did not make a police report.
The answer is you don't.
No, they didn't. Here's the case number if you want to call them and verify.
Do you have a police report? I'd like to see it, please.
Okay.
You see what they both have.
So the watch commander looked at me and he goes, "Do you want to be here?" And I said, "No, but I want my stuff." And he goes, "Well, go get your stuff." So I went upstairs and started to get my stuff. And the whole time I've got my cell phone on, my wife is listening to it on speakerphone the whole time. And the watch commander said, "Can you prove this to me, what you just said?" And she goes, "Yes, I can." She goes, "Justin, Alex," and that's these 2 guys here. And they come downstairs with their hands in their pockets looking at the ground. And he goes, "This woman says that he exposed himself to her and her kids. Can you testify to that?" And Justin and Alex both looked at him and went, "Nope." And he said, "Ma'am, I don't want to hear anything else from you. I want you to sit down and let him get his stuff." And I left.
And did you get your stuff?
I got all of it, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And as I left, I gave Justin, in the presence of Kareem, everything that belonged to Elena, the wireless modem, the stereo pieces, the leather jacket I still owed money on, even some chairs that belonged to another
What
renter.
leather jacket that you still?
A leather jacket I was buying from her. I gave her $10 out of 50, and I had forgotten it in my closet, but as I was moving, I saw it. In his presence, I gave everything that belonged to her to him. And if I still have anything else, it's because I forgot it. I'm not taking nothing from her.
Put your hands down. Put your hands down.
This is just unbelievable.
So I have a few direct questions to ask you, Ms. Chavez. Did you leave a message on Mr. Glenn's cell phone on or about the 26th of August?
No, it was on the 28th, Sunday 28th.
And what did you say in the message on his cell phone?
That he needed to pay at least the $290 and that I wasn't going to open the door. He doesn't have keys because he lost them. And I told him, I'm tired of being your door person. He's broken my gate trying to get over the gate to get into back to get in the house.
What,
and I told
listen,
him,
I asked you what you said
that he
on
needed
the
to
voice.
pay that to get in the house and that I wasn't going to open the door if he wanted to come in.
Listen to me. You cannot do that. You cannot lock him out. You cannot prevent him from entering. That's an illegal eviction. You cannot do that.
I wasn't
doing that. Yes, you were. Ms. Chavez, you absolutely were.
I didn't change the locks.
I don't care whether
I
you
didn't do
changed the locks.
anything.
Listen to me. I read the police.
If he went and got his keys, he could have come in.
I'm speaking. You were home when the police came to your door.
Yes, I was.
You refused initially to open the door for the police.
For him. The police had to open
Ms. Chavez! You refused to open the door for the police. You cannot do that. Now, when the police finally were able to gain entrance to your house and speak to you, what was the first thing that you said to them?
I said I would let her in, but not him. And she said, fine, I just want to come in. So she came in, and we started talking. And she asked me what was going on, and I explained it to her.
The first thing that you told the police officer as to why you weren't letting him in your house.
Because he owed money, and I was trying to make an attempt to get him to pay some of it.
Okay. Now we're going to get to your counterclaim. Take your hands out of your pockets.
Yes, ma'am, I'm sorry.
Your counterclaim is that A, he owes you for rent. B, he stole property from your house. You were unclear in your answer as to what property he stole. You want to tell me now?
Yes, he took with him 2 towels, a rug, a VCR that I had loaned him. He never returned it. The cable transformers and the modem key that was given to him by Charter. He never returned those things.
Okay. Do you have any of those things?
Everything I thought was hers I gave to Justin, but I'm willing to look in my stores and see if I have the VCR still. I mean, you can buy a brand new 4-head stereo VCR for $20 at Walmart, right?
I got it. I got it. Okay, so that's a lot of baloney. It sounded like a lot of baloney to me because it wasn't even listed in your answer. But what you want the most for is you claimed a sexual battery.
Yes.
You want to tell me about that, Ms. Chavez?
Timothy Glenn claims he was illegally evicted by former landlord Elena Chavez. Elena claims Timothy committed lewd acts.
Now, you claimed a sexual battery.
Yes.
Go ahead.
The first time it happened was about the 3rd week of July. We were in the kitchen, my roommates, Alex, Justin, and we were proceeding to have lunch. Everybody fixes their own thing. And he came in, and he's very, happy, smiley guy. And he started talking about how easy it is for him to get women. And he proceeded to move his hips left to right with such force that his genitalia made slapping sounds, and he laughed about it.
Oh, my.
And I was like, totally grossed out, and I told him that it wasn't funny because he was laughing. He thinks it's funny.
What else, Ms. Chavez?
And other occasions he's done it before. He's
Ms. Chavez, you know you're full of baloney.
Yeah. I'm not.
Hey, quiet. You want to go to the theater? Go to a movie. It's a court.
He did this, okay?
Listen to me. If he did it, and if you were so offended by it that you wanted to terminate his lease, I'm speaking. You give him 30 days notice in July, which is when you say this happened and say, I cannot have that kind of behavior in my home. You chose not to do that, so I cannot believe I'm speaking. So close your mouth, put on your listening ears. You chose not to do that. What you chose to do was to allow him to stay there and then illegally lock him out. And when push came to shove, you resurrected this baloney to justify your illegal activity. And what I'm telling you is you cannot do that. And it's a terrible thing to say about somebody especially somebody who is the custodian of a child, especially that. Put your hand down.
Honor, I am.
Put your hand down. In
He did it
addition,
in front of them, and not more than once.
Listen to me. You had an option. Your option was, I'm speaking. It's irrelevant that you spoke to him. If the conduct was so offensive to you, you give him a 30-day notice, which is your right. He is a month-to-month tenant, and he would have to leave. You chose not to do that. You chose, after this happened in July, according to you, I'm speaking, put on your listening ears, you chose, according to you, to accept rent in August, according to you, of $770. And if the conduct so grossed you out, all you had to do in July was say, I want you out. You chose not to do that. So I disbelieve how grossed out you are by any of his conduct. You cannot do what you did. And especially sexual nature with regard to someone who is a custodial parent, very bad. And I also gather from your answer, because he's got a complaint, that you called his son's school. The very day he moved out, you called his son, I'm speaking, you called his son's school to say that he was no longer living at that address. What was the reason for that?
The document states that I have to do that.
Oh, show me. Show me the document that states that you have to call the day after he moves out.
I called 3 days.
Show me. Well, unfortunately, Mr. Glenn, this form that she has indicates that she has to advise the school within 3 days if you've changed your residence.
Okay, well, that's not all she told the principal.
Well, I don't know what she told the principal unless you have the principal here.
No, he wouldn't come.
Well, your allegation is that vindictively, and I guarantee you vindictively she made this call, but she is required to do it, and therefore I cannot in good conscience rule in your favor with regard to that part of your complaint. I think Ms. Chavez acted wrongly. I think she made an excuse for her behavior after the police told her that she couldn't evict you.
I agree.
She couldn't lock you out, and she said, well, you were a threat to her because you sexually battered her. You may have been guilty of poor judgment or poor taste in your storytelling, Mr. Glenn, but there is no evidence whatsoever of sexual battery. Is there? Right. Okay. Mr. Glenn, where did you go after you left her house?
Well, I went to Kareem Pardini's house that night. We didn't know where we were going to go until about 7 p.m.
Okay, so you went to somebody's house, you slept there. Where are you living now?
Right now, we're living next door to my wife in Altaloma. We're on the way back again, and it's great. I mean, everything's coming together.
Well, that's fine. So it worked out reasonably well, but I believe that you have to be compensated, not just because she refused to allow you in, because ultimately what you said was, I'm afraid to leave my son here because she's acting like a nut. Hey. So I'm going to take my son and go elsewhere because I can't leave him here, and she acted improperly.
Whether it was
I believe, I'm
or...
speaking.
I'm sorry.
I believe the fact that she told the police this baloney story about sexual battery is worthy of compensation. And it's worthy of compensation because of who you are, because of the fact that you are a custodial parent. And I don't think that she has the right to use that as an excuse for her illegal behavior. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. Your counterclaim is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Beverly Schoonover says neighbors Christy Hicks and Neighbory Lillard owe for vet bills and damages to her home. Beverly claims their 3 Rottweilers went on a rampage.
Ms. Schoonover, according to your complaint, 3 dogs that were running loose followed you into your home, attacked you, attacked your home, trashed your house, and injured your dog. Those dogs you claim belong to the defendants.
That's correct.
And you want them to compensate you for all the damage that was done to you, your medical bills, your house, and your veterinary bills. The defendants say they were on vacation. They don't know what happened. Right? You were on vacation?
Yes, ma'am. Well, my niece was attending a beauty pageant in Chicago.
I don't care what you were doing. You were gone.
We were gone.
And your dogs were home?
Yes, ma'am.
And got out?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me what happened, Ms. Schoonover.
Well, there was a storm, and...
On what date?
I believe it was August the 3rd.
I don't know. Don't ask me. I don't know where I was yesterday.
I'm sorry. It was August the 5th.
Go ahead.
Okay, there was a storm. I went outside. At the end of my driveway were electrical wires. So the officials had arrived, and they were telling me to stay away from the wires, stay away from the wires. All of a sudden, someone yells, "Smoke, fire, call the fire department." So all the people went running up, and our neighbor's house just not a tenth of a mile on the other side of the road, lightning had struck their attic. And everyone went, and I couldn't go. I couldn't go because there's the pasture fence and there's the electrical wires. So finally the smoke got so bad, I just had to go inside. I went inside, and when the smoke cleared, I came back out. Well, in order for me to see that house, I had to go all the way to the driveway, down to the end of the fence. And I'm standing by the fence, and I look at the wires, and I think, they tell me to stay away. So I turned around, and when I turned around, there were 3 Rottweilers. One on each.
You have 3 Rottweilers?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
One on each side of me and one in front of me. The 2 on each side were females. The one in front of me, I didn't want to deal with him at all. I looked up this way, there was no one to yell for, and I would not scream that loud with those dogs that close. I thought about the wires, but I would have to turn to get through them, and I wouldn't turn my back on 3 large black dogs. No way. They were up to here. No. So I couldn't stand there pinned against the fence. So I started walking toward my home. I had about 100 yards to go. I just decided I've had enough of these dogs. I've had to drive through them all the way, all through the winter. They would be laying in the road.
These same 3 dogs?
These same 3 dogs with 2 little dogs would be laying in the road. I mean, many times I've had to stop. They wouldn't get out of the way.
So you'd seen these dogs before?
I had seen them before.
Do you know where they lived?
No, ma'am.
How far from your house had you seen them?
2/10 of a mile.
Do you know where the defendants live now?
Yes, I do.
How far from the defendant's home had you seen the dogs?
2/10 of a mile.
You live 2/10 of a mile from where they live?
Actually, I live 4/10 of a mile from where they live.
And you saw the dogs 2/10 of a mile from their house?
Yes, ma'am.
So sort of in the middle?
Yes, ma'am.
How long?
Lived in the neighborhood maybe 8 years.
How many other families in the neighborhood own 3 Rottweilers?
At least 2.
Name them.
I don't really know their names, but there's a Gaines family that's in the back of the subdivision across the street from us, and also up the street there's a man that owns 2, not 3.
I asked you, how many people in the neighborhood own 3 Rottweilers?
Not any that I know of, ma'am.
Then that's the answer, sir. Don't tell me this one here, this one there. I said, how many own 3? Because your defense is, how do I know they were my dogs that caused all this damage? That's your defense, right?
Yes, ma'am.
It's getting thin. Okay, you have set the stage. Now what I want you to do is tell me about the damage the dogs caused.
And then I reached about 2 feet from my porch, and I looked up, I saw my little dog, and I was like, oh, no, my dog, oh dear. You know, I thought I could get through the door, but I forgot about the little dog would run out. And as I was thinking that, then all of a sudden this fear started to come over me, and I looked down, and they had surrounded me. I had them all 3 around me.
So what'd you do?
I prayed. That's what I've been taught to do also. I said scripture out loud.
Then what did you do?
Then when I finished the scripture, I emphatically did this, which they broke, and they ran up on the porch. And the porch is too small for me to get, couldn't get between those dogs and all that.
So what did you
do?
do?
I ran down to the road. At that time, another policeman had pulled up. I summoned the policeman, he summoned another one, they summoned another one. It took 3 policemen with nightsticks, pepper spray, in the dark, trying to get those animals out of my house.
They got in your house?
They were, yes. They destroyed my bedroom. They used my couch for urinary purposes. It smells terrible.
What happened to your dog?
Oh, when we found him in the house, they finally got the dogs out. We found him in the bathroom, and he had like a tear right here. And he wasn't moving, and he was panting very gently, and so I slipped him up on a pillow like that. So I sat outside. The pepper spray was so strong you couldn't stay in the house. So while I'm sitting on the porch waiting for them to decide how to take me to the vet, I look up, and down the driveway come the Rottweilers. Here they come back again. So I had to grab my little dog, run back in the house, call the sheriff, tell them where they were, do all that. So we got to the vet finally. The policeman took me to the vet.
Dog okay now?
Oh, remarkably.
Okay. I see items of clothing there.
Yes.
What is that?
Well, because of the wires and then the rest of the tree fell and all this, it was like 2 days before I could see my dog. They didn't really think he was going to live. So the first time I got to see him after the surgery, I had to sit on the floor.
Oh, I see. So that's blood stains from your dog?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know what that was.
That's...
How much in damage was caused in your home by these dogs?
It was over $2,700.
Okay, can I see please?
Yes, ma'am.
What photographs you have? Okay, who's going to speak?
I will.
Make it fast.
On the night of the fire that she was talking about, which was August 6th, I have pictures from where the storm had knocked the trees down and caused our gate to open. Our dogs were picked up by the animal control in our yard. The Miss Schoonover's statement had stated that she was outside letting her dog use the restroom, and the power line was blocking the trees or whatnot. But
Could I have your defense, please?
I don't understand how she could pick out our 3 Rottweilers as
I
being
just
the
asked, who
dogs.
is this man? Is he your...
I'm the owner of the dogs, Your Honor.
Listen, I just asked him a simple question. It's clear these dogs travel together. She's seen 3 Rottweilers out loose previously. So it's clear that these 3 dogs were together. You're the only people in the neighborhood that own 3 Rottweilers. Your dogs just happened to be out that evening. Okay, we have a whole lot of serendipity here. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, keep going.
Can I show you the statement from the animal control?
Yes, of course.
I
There,
also have the animal control.
only 2 of my dogs were out and at large. They were picked up in my yard by the animal control people.
Your dogs had gotten out before.
No, ma'am, that was one occasion when I was out in the yard with them. And
Listen
the
to me,
dogs
I'm just
were
reading this report that you gave me. They identified your dogs because they had to bring your dogs home before. Put your hand down. That's the report you just gave me.
The purpose of that report was to show you that there were 3 dogs loose in the yard that they bypassed in the street.
Listen to me very
that were German
carefully,
Shepherds.
sir. She was shown the German Shepherd. She said that they were not the dogs that attacked her dog.
Correct. But she also stated that the dogs...
She was shown 3 German Shepherds. If she was going to make a mistake, why wouldn't she make a mistake and say, these are the 3 dogs? There are 3 dogs. She knows a Rottweiler from a German Shepherd. They were with her for a long time. Listen to me carefully. You can't give me a report and say to me the report is only for one purpose, to show you that there were 3 German Shepherds out. They have brought back your dogs who were out unaccompanied before. That's outrageous. Not she. Your dogs.
No, Miss Beverly Schoonover had stated that it was so smoky outside from the fire. The house was right in front of her house that caught on fire. I have the paper, the Daily News Journal that
I want you to listen to my statement.
I'm listening, Your Honor.
Put on your listening ears. I said this report indicates that your Rottweilers were found outside by animal control before. Yes or no?
Not by animal control. They were
Police officer. Strike
No, ma'am.
animal control.
No,
Say
ma'am.
There was never a police report even filed on this.
We tried to get a police
These
statement.
people,
There
listen
was
to me.
no statement.
Listen to me. The only thing that saddens me is one of these dogs was put down after this evening. Is that right?
Yes,
That's
ma'am. Because they didn't pick it up. They
No.
said they would be back for it.
It's unfortunate that they have dogs. It's unfortunate that we don't have to have people tested before they have animals. Animals are not supposed to be left outside when you're on vacation, when you're at a beauty pageant, when you're with your daughter, when you're upstairs, downstairs, anywhere else. When you're not home, you have to make adequate provisions for animals to be cared for, not leave them outside. Sometimes bad things happen. Sometimes there's a storm, sometimes there's a hurricane, sometimes there's a flood. And when 2 idiots can't take care of animals, they shouldn't have them. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,700. That's all.
Victoria Klaus says former tenant Kelly Stafford moved out owing for rent. Victoria also claims Kelly vandalized the home.
Miss Klaus, you own a rental property.
तो तुम्हें खाना डाला यार हैं इनको भी अभी खाना डाला है सबको तो यार हमारे कबूतरों ने जो बच्चे दिए थे ना 2 वो मैं आज देखूंगा 3 दिन बाद 3 दिन पहले मैंने देखे थे वो बिल्कुल इतने थे कुछ मतलब कुछ घंटों के थे अब तो तकरीबन 4 दिन के होने वाले हैं आज तो आज मैं उन्हें देखता हूँ जाओ सब लोग बाहर चलो 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 रेड टेल यार इसका थोड़ा मसला है ना इसे इसीलिए उतार के हम बाहर भेजते हैं चलो जाओ चलो चलो ओ बच्चों की अम्मी भी बाहर चली गई है ये भी है यार मोटू भाई जाओ बाहर चलो 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 ये देखिए और माशाल्लाह यार कितने बड़े हो गए हैं जब मैंने देखा था ना ये जब कुछ घंटों के थे बिल्कुल इतने थे येलो कलर के फुल येलो थे कोई चोंच कोई आंखें कुछ नहीं नज़र आ रहा था अब देखो यार माशाल्लाह कितने बड़े हो गए हैं दोनों भाई इधर शराजी कबूतरों ने कोई अंडा नहीं दिया वो तो अपना घर बदल के इधर आ रहे हैं इधर भी कोई अंडा नहीं दिया कभी उठा लेते हैं यार ये ना इन बच्चों के अंडे का छिलका था اتنے بڑے ہو گئے ابھی تک چھلکا ادھر پڑا ہے. تو یار ایک بچہ یہ بیٹھا ہوا ہے موٹو, صحیح بڑا ہوا ہے, یہ موٹا ہوا ہے ماشاءاللہ. ایک یہ پیچھے بیٹھا ہوا ہے, پیچھے والا تھوڑا چھوٹا ہے, پتہ نہیں اس پہ بال بھی تھوڑے زیادہ ہیں یار. یہ پتہ نہیں کیا کیا ہے ان کے امی ابو نے. ایک کو کم کھانا کھلایا ہے, ایک کو زیادہ. او بھائی کیا ہو گیا ہے, سو جاؤ آرام سے. کیا دیکھ رہا ہوں, یہ دیکھیں یار ماشاءاللہ یار یہ کتنا بڑا ہو گیا ہے. واہ یار واہ یار. اس مرغی کی نا دم آنے لگ گیا ہے, یہ دیکھیں یار, یہ اس کی دم آنے لگ گیا. بھائی کچھ نہیں ہوتا, کیا کر رہی ہو. دیکھو یار اس کی دم نا پہلے بالکل کٹ چکی تھی اور سر کے بال بھی بالکل خراب ہو گئے تھے. ہاں بھائی بڑی ڈو, تم نے انڈے دیے ہوئے تھے یار, کیا بنا تمہارا. اس کو بھی دیکھ لیتے ہیں یار. 2 انڈے اس نے دیے ہوئے تھے. پیچھے ہو جاؤ بھائی, باہر نہیں آنا. چلو پیچھے, چلو پیچھے جاؤ بھائی, پیچھے جاؤ. ابھی تمہیں کھانا ڈالا ہے, پیچھے جاؤ. چلو بھائی چلو چلو سائڈ پہ ہو جاؤ تم. مجھے اس کو دیکھنے دو یار. مجھے لگتا ہے یار اس نے نا, یار پیچھے ہو گئے تم لوگ. مجھے لگتا ہے یار اس نے نا بچہ دیا ہوا ہے. وہ دیکھیں یار, اوے واقعی میں بچہ ہے. وہ دیکھو یار ماشاءاللہ کتنا کیوٹ ہے, چھوٹا سا. یار ہٹ جاؤ آگے سے. تو یار ہماری بڑی ڈف کا بھی نا بچہ نکل آیا انڈے سے ماشاءاللہ یار. وہ اس کو کھانا کھلا رہی ہے, لیکن یہ آگے سے ہٹے نا, پیچھے ہو جاؤ. وہ ہے, وہ بیٹھا ہوا ہے, کھانا کھلا رہی ہے اس کو. وہ دیکھو یار بالکل چھوٹا سا. یہ نا انڈے بطخوں نے دیے ہیں. یہ صرف یہ والا ایک مرغی کا انڈا ہے بس. باقی اتنے سارے انڈے ہیں بطخوں کے. ہمیں پتہ ہی نہیں تھا یار. یہ بطخیں نا اس کونے میں وہاں پر انڈے دے رہی تھیں. یہاں پہ تو سلکی والا مرغا اور مرغی ہوتے ہیں نا, تو اس والے میں انڈے دے رہی تھی. وہ جو جہاں پر ٹب پڑا ہے نا, اس کے کونے میں اندر کر کے. ابھی ہم نے دیکھا ہے تو وہاں پر نا یہ والے انڈے پڑے ہوئے تھے. میں تو سوچ رہا تھا یار بطخیں ہماری انڈے نہیں دے رہی ہیں, پتہ نہیں کیا ہو گیا ان کو. انہوں نے شروع میں 3 کے 4 انڈے دیے تھے, اس کے بعد نہیں دیے انہوں نے انڈے. تو اب جو ہے نا ہمیں پتہ ہی نہیں تھا, دے رہی تھی انڈے لیکن میں نے دیکھے ہی نہیں, وہاں پر پڑے ہوئے تھے.